The black Rolls-Royce Phantom sits in the underground garage like a sleeping predator. Elena Hart stares at the fresh scratch across its door, her scratch, and her hands won't stop shaking. Then the owner steps out, tall, Korean, tattooed, terrifying. Seo Kang-jun is not just wealthy. He is the head of Houston's most dangerous Korean mafia organization. But instead of anger, he asks softly, "Are you hurt?" That single moment becomes the beginning of an obsession that will drag Elena into a world of violence, betrayal, and a love too dangerous to survive. If you want to see how far a broken woman will go for the man everyone fears, stay until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Badsien. The rain hammered Houston like it had a personal grudge. Elena Hart sat behind the wheel of her aging Honda Civic, wipers screaming across the windshield, visibility down to almost nothing. The underground garage of the West Ridge Tower was supposed to be a shortcut, a way to avoid the flooded streets above. Instead, it had become a trap. She was late. Again. The Kemper account meeting had run over by 40 minutes, and now her phone buzzed relentlessly in the cup holder with messages from her assistant asking where the hell she was. Elena ignored them. She just needed to get home, peel off these heels that had been cutting into her ankles for the past 6 hours, and pretend Valentine's Day didn't exist. Valentine's Day. The date that had ruined her life once already. She accelerated too quickly around a concrete pillar, tires squealing against the slick floor. The garage was nearly empty at this hour, just a handful of luxury cars parked in spaces that probably cost more per month than her rent. She hated this part of town, hated the wealth, hated the reminder that no matter how many clients she landed, she would always be the girl from the east side pretending to belong. That's when she saw it. The Rolls-Royce Phantom. Black? Gleaming. Parked at an angle across 2 spaces like it owned the entire floor. Elena's foot hit the brake too late. The sickening scrape of metal against metal echoed through the garage. Her car jerked to a stop. For 3 full seconds she sat frozen, hands locked on the steering wheel, heart hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. No, 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 no. She threw the car into park and stumbled out into the rain-slicked garage. The scratch ran along the Rolls-Royce's rear passenger door, long, deep, unmistakable. Her stomach dropped. She didn't need to check the price of a Rolls-Royce to know she couldn't afford to fix this. Her insurance wouldn't cover it. Her savings wouldn't cover it. Nothing she owned would cover it. Panic clawed up her chest. She turned toward her car, already planning to leave, just drive away and hope no cameras caught her plate. But movement stopped her cold. The driver's side door of the Rolls-Royce opened. A man stepped out, tall, maybe 6'2". Korean, with sharp cheekbones and black hair pushed back from his face. He wore a tailored black shirt with the sleeves rolled to his forearms, revealing ink, dark, intricate tattoos that disappeared beneath the fabric. His movements were slow, controlled, predatory. He didn't look at the scratch. He looked at her. Elena's breath caught. His eyes were dark, cold. The kind of eyes that had seen things she couldn't imagine and felt nothing about them. He walked toward her with the kind of confidence that came from never being told no, and every instinct in her body screamed at her to run. But she didn't. She stood there, soaked from the garage mist, hugging her blazer around herself like it could protect her from whatever this man was about to do. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive, cedar and smoke. His gaze moved over her face, slow and deliberate, like he was cataloging every detail. Then, finally, he spoke. "Are you hurt?" His voice was low, accented, impossibly calm. Elena blinked. "What? Are you hurt?" he repeated, stepping closer. "You stopped hard. Did you hit your head?" She stared at him. The man whose car she'd just destroyed was asking if she was okay. It didn't make sense. People like him didn't ask questions like that. They yelled. They threatened lawsuits. They called the cops. I'm fine, she stammered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't see you. The rain, it's just a car. It's a Rolls-Royce. Still just a car." He crouched beside the scratch, running his fingers along the damaged paint. Elena watched his hands, large, scarred across the knuckles, steady. Everything about him seemed steady, like nothing in the world could rattle him. "I'll pay for it," she said, even though the words were a lie. I have insurance. You don't need to pay for it. What? He stood brushing his hands off and looked at her again. This time, something shifted in his expression. Not softness exactly, but something close. Curiosity, maybe? What's your name? Elena hesitated. Giving her name felt dangerous, but refusing felt worse. Elena, she said quietly. Elena Hart. Elena. He repeated it like he was testing the sound. Then he extended one hand. Seo Kang-jun. She took his hand. His grip was firm, warm, despite the cold air. The tattoos on his forearm shifted as his fingers closed around hers. Up close, she could see the designs, dragons, flowers, something that looked like script in a language she didn't recognize. You're shaking, he said. I just totaled your car. You scratched it. That's not the same thing. It's a $60,000 scratch. Try $200,000. Elena's knees almost buckled. Kang-jun's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. I'm joking, he said. Mostly. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Instead, she pulled her hand back and wrapped her arms around herself again. The adrenaline was fading, leaving her shaky and cold. Kang-jun watched her for a long moment. Then he pulled his phone from his pocket and held it out. Put your number in. Why? So I can call you. To send me the repair bill? No. He stepped closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. To take you to dinner. Elena froze. This man, this stranger who looked like he could kill her without breaking a sweat, was asking her to dinner. You don't have to say yes now, Kang-jun said. His voice dropped lower, softer. But I want to see you again. You don't even know me, and I know you stopped to check on the damage instead of driving away. I know you're scared right now, but you're still standing here. I know you work too much because your blazer has coffee stains, and your heels are cutting into your skin. Elena looked down. He was right. The back of her left heel was bleeding through her stocking. How? I notice things. Kang-jun held the phone out again. Your number, Elena. She didn't know why she took it. Didn't know why she typed her number into his contacts and handed it back. Maybe because no one had looked at her the way he was looking at her in years. Maybe because she was tired of being invisible. Or maybe because something in his eyes told her that saying no wasn't really an option. Kang-jun glanced at the screen, then slipped the phone back into his pocket. I'll call you tomorrow, he said. I might not answer. You will. Then he turned and walked back to his car. Elena stood there, watching as he slid behind the wheel, started the engine, and pulled away without another glance. The Rolls-Royce disappeared up the ramp, red taillights glowing in the rain. Elena didn't move for a full minute. Then she got back into her Civic, locked the doors, and sat in the silence. Her hands were still shaking, but this time it wasn't from fear. Kang-jun called the next morning at 9:30. Elena stared at her phone vibrating on her kitchen counter, his name glowing across the screen. She'd saved it last night, Kang-jun, Rolls-Royce, because she'd half convinced herself she'd dreamed the entire encounter. She let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello? Meet me tonight, Kang-jun said. No greeting, no small talk, just a command wrapped in velvet. I can't. Why not? Because I don't know you. That's why we're meeting. Elena leaned against the counter, pressing her palm to her forehead. She should hang up, block his number, pretend the garage incident never happened. But instead she heard herself ask, where? Café Artista, 8 o'clock. The coffee shop on Montrose? Yes. That's not dinner. I changed my mind. Coffee first, dinner later. If you don't run. I'm not going to run. Good. There was a pause, then quieter. Wear something comfortable, not the heels. The line went dead. Elena stared at her phone. Then she looked down at her feet, still bandaged from yesterday. He'd noticed. Café Artista was dimly lit and nearly empty when Elena arrived. She'd changed 3 times before settling on jeans and a sweater. Casual, unremarkable, safe. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. No makeup except mascara. If this was a mistake, she wanted to be able to disappear quickly. Kang Jun sat in the back corner booth wearing a black Henley and dark jeans. He looked different in the low light, younger, maybe, less terrifying. But when he stood as she approached, the danger came back. It was in the way he moved, the way people instinctively stepped out of his path without realizing it. "Came," he said. "You sound surprised." "I'm not." He gestured to the seat across from him. "Sit." Elena slid into the booth. A white ceramic mug already sat waiting for her, steam rising, the scent of vanilla and cinnamon cutting through the air. "I didn't order yet," she said. "I ordered for you. Vanilla latte, extra foam." "How did you say? You had one in your cup holder yesterday." Elena stared at him. "You saw that?" "I told you. I noticed things." She wrapped her hands around the mug, the warmth grounding her. Kang Jun watched her over the rim of his own cup, black coffee, no sugar, and the silence stretched between them like a test. "So," Elena said finally, "what do you do?" "Import and export." "That's vague." "It's accurate." "What do you import?" "Things people need." "And export?" "Things people want." Elena laughed despite herself. "You're not going to tell me, are you?" "Not tonight." "Why not?" Kang Jun leaned back, his gaze steady. "Because if I tell you the truth, you'll leave, and I'm not ready for that yet." The honesty disarmed her. She'd expected deflection, maybe charm, not this quiet admission that he was hiding something. "Should I be scared of you?" she asked. "Probably." "That's not reassuring." "I'm not trying to reassure you, Elena. I'm trying to be honest." She took a sip of her latte. It was perfect, too perfect. "Why me? Why not you?" "Because you look like—" She gestured at him, searching for words. "Like you could have anyone, and I'm just what?" "Nobody." Kang Jun's expression darkened. He set his cup down and leaned forward, elbows on the table. "Don't say that again. It's true." "It's not." "You don't know me well enough to argue." "I know you've been hurt," he said quietly. "I know someone made you believe you were less than you are, and I know you're wrong." Elena's throat tightened. She looked away, focusing on the espresso machine hissing behind the counter. How did he see that? How did a stranger read her in 5 minutes better than people she'd known for years? "Who hurt you?" Kang Jun asked. "It doesn't matter." "It does to me." She met his eyes. There was no pity there, no curiosity, just cold, focused rage barely held in check. "A boy," she said finally. "In high school. It was a long time ago." "What did he do?" Elena shook her head. "I don't want to talk about it." Kang Jun studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Okay. But if you ever change your mind, I want his name." "Why?" "Because no one gets to hurt you and walk away." The words sent a shiver down her spine. He meant it. She could see it in his face. This man, this stranger, was offering her something she'd never had before. Protection. It should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like relief. They stayed until the coffee shop closed at midnight, talked about everything except the things that mattered. Elena told him about her job, her clients, the marketing campaigns she built for companies that barely noticed her. Kang Jun told her about Houston, the neighborhoods he knew, the restaurants he loved. He didn't mention import and export again. She didn't ask. When they finally left, the rain had stopped. The streets gleamed under yellow streetlights, and the air smelled like wet asphalt and jasmine. Kang Jun walked her to her car, still parked 2 blocks away because she'd been too nervous to park close. "I'll see you again," he said when they reached the Civic. "You sound very sure of yourself." "I am." Elena unlocked the door but didn't get in. She turned back to him, searching his face for answers she didn't know how to ask for. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Doing what?" "This. Coffee, conversation. Pretending I'm someone worth your time." Kang Jun stepped closer. Close enough that she could feel the heat of him in the cool night air. Close enough to see the faint scar along his jawline she hadn't noticed before. "I'm not pretending," he said, "and you're worth more than you know." Then he reached out and brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. The touch was gentle, Deliberate, devastating. "Go home, Elena," he said softly. "I'll call you tomorrow." She got into her car before she could do something stupid, like kiss him, like ask him to stay, like beg him to tell her the truth about who he really was. Kang Jun stood on the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, watching as she pulled away. In her rearview mirror, he looked like a shadow, beautiful and dangerous and impossible to escape. Elena drove home with her heart pounding and her mind screaming warnings she had no intention of listening to. 3 weeks later, Elena knew she was in trouble. Kang Jun called every day, texted every night, showed up at her apartment with Korean food he'd cooked himself, spicy tofu stew, perfectly seasoned short ribs, rice that tasted better than anything she'd ever made. He took her driving through Houston's skyline at 2 in the morning, the city glowing beneath them like scattered diamonds. He never pushed, never demanded, just showed up, steady and patient, like he had all the time in the world. And Elena, despite every logical part of her brain screaming warnings, fell. She fell hard, but she also started to notice things. The way people moved out of his way in restaurants. The way waiters never brought him a check. The way bouncers stepped aside at clubs without asking for ID. The way men in expensive suits nodded when Kang Jun walked past, their faces tight with something that looked like fear. He never explained it. She never asked. Until the night Vanessa called. Elena sat cross-legged on Kang Jun's penthouse sofa, her phone pressed to her ear while Kang Jun worked in the kitchen. The apartment overlooked downtown Houston, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the city like a painting. Everything here was black, white, and glass, clean, controlled, expensive. "I'm planning a Valentine's trip," Vanessa said, her voice bright and cheerful in that way that always set Elena's nerves on edge. "A cabin in the mountains. Just a few of us. I want you to come." Elena hesitated. Vanessa Cole had been her friend since college, or at least that's what Elena told herself. In reality, Vanessa was the kind of friend who kept you close to feel better about herself. The kind who smiled while reminding you of every failure you'd ever had. "I don't know," Elena said. "I'm pretty busy with work." "Come on, it'll be fun. You need a break." "Who else is going?" "Just some people from the old group. No one you haven't met." That was a lie. Elena could hear it in Vanessa's tone. But before she could press, Kang Jun appeared beside her with a plate of sliced fruit and set it on the coffee table. "I'll think about it," Elena said into the phone. "Think fast. We leave in 2 weeks." Vanessa hung up without waiting for a response. Elena set her phone down and reached for a strawberry. Kang Jun sat beside her, close enough that their legs touched. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing." "You're lying." She looked at him. His eyes were steady, patient. He never let her hide. "My friend Vanessa wants me to go on a trip," Elena said. "Some Valentine's cabin thing." "Do you want to go?" "No." "Then don't." "It's not that simple." "Why not?" Elena picked at the strawberry stem. "Because if I don't go, she'll make it into this whole thing. She'll tell everyone I'm being difficult, that I think I'm too good for them now." "Are you? Too good for them?" "Yes." Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. "No, I'm just—" She stopped, swallowed. "I'm tired of pretending I belong in places I don't." Kang Jun reached over and took the strawberry from her hand. He set it back on the plate and then laced his fingers through hers. "Who's going on this trip?" he asked quietly. "I don't know. Vanessa wouldn't say." "That bothers you?" "A little." Kang Jun was silent for a moment. Then he pulled out his phone and typed something quickly. 30 seconds later, it buzzed. He read the screen, and his expression went cold. "What?" Elena asked. "Ryan Mercer is going." Her entire body went rigid. "How do you know that?" "I had someone look into it." "You... what?" Kang Jun's grip on her hand tightened. "You don't think I'd let you walk into something blind, do you?" Elena pulled her hand free and stood. Her heart was racing. "You investigated my friend's trip?" "Yes." "That's insane. That's protection." "I didn't ask you to protect me. You didn't have to." Kang Jun stood, his voice calm but firm. "Ryan Mercer is the boy who hurt you. Vanessa invited him deliberately. She's setting you up, Elena. You don't know that. I do. Elena's chest tightened. Vanessa wouldn't do that. She couldn't, except Vanessa absolutely would. Because that's who Vanessa was. Cruel under the smile, vicious when she thought no one was watching. I can't deal with this right now, Elena said, grabbing her bag. Where are you going? Home. Kongjun stepped in front of her, not blocking her, just there, solid, immovable. Don't run from me, he said quietly. I'm not running. Yes, you are. Elena's eyes burned. What do you want from me, Kongjun? You want me to thank you for spying on my life? You want me to pretend it's normal that you know things you shouldn't know? I want you to trust me. I barely know you. Then get to know me. His voice dropped. But don't walk away because I protected you. I'll do it again, every time. And I won't apologize for it. Elena stared at him. This man who'd appeared out of nowhere and consumed her life in 3 weeks. This man who cooked for her, listened to her, looked at her like she mattered. This man who terrified her more than anyone ever had. Ryan destroyed me, she whispered, and Vanessa watched it happen. If they're together again, then I'll be there too. What? Kongjun stepped closer. You're not going to that cabin alone. If you go, I'm coming with you. You can't just... I can. And I will. Elena's breath hitched. Why? Why do you care this much? Kongjun reached up and cupped her face in both hands. His thumbs brushed her cheekbones. His eyes, those dark, terrifying eyes, softened just enough to break her. Because you matter to me, he said, and I don't let people hurt what's mine. The words should have made her angry, should have sent her running. Instead, they made her feel safe for the first time in years. Elena closed her eyes, leaned into his touch. And when Kongjun kissed her, slow, careful, claiming, she didn't pull away. She kissed him back. 2 weeks later, Elena sat in the passenger seat of Kongjun's black Range Rover as they drove through the mountains. Snow covered the trees, the road, the world. Vanessa's cabin sat another 20 miles ahead. Elena's stomach churned. Kongjun reached over and took her hand without looking away from the road. Breathe, he said. I'm breathing. No, you're panicking. She was. Her chest felt tight. Her hands were clammy. Ryan Mercer was going to be at that cabin. The boy who'd humiliated her in front of their entire high school. The boy who'd laughed when she'd told him she loved him. The boy who'd made her feel worthless. And Kongjun, dangerous, protective, terrifying Kongjun, was walking into that nightmare with her. We can still turn around, Kongjun said. No, I'm not running. You're allowed to run, Elena. I've been running for years. She looked at him. I'm done. Kongjun's jaw tightened. Then he brought her hand to his mouth and kissed her knuckles. If he says one thing that hurts you, Kongjun said quietly, I'm going to break his face. You can't do that. Watch me. Elena didn't argue, because deep down part of her wanted to see it happen. They pulled up to the cabin just as the sun began to set. Warm light glowed through the windows. Laughter echoed from inside. Vanessa stood on the porch, waving, her smile bright and fake. Elena took a deep breath. Kongjun got out first and walked around to open her door. He offered his hand, and she took it. Together, they walked toward the cabin. And Elena couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to explode. The cabin door swung open before Elena could knock. Vanessa stood framed in warm light, wearing a cream cashmere sweater and dark jeans that probably cost more than Elena's rent. Her blonde hair fell in perfect waves over her shoulders, and her smile was all teeth and venom disguised as welcome. Elena! Vanessa's eyes flickered to Kongjun, and something shifted in her expression. Surprise. Calculation. You didn't mention you were bringing someone. Last-minute decision, Elena said, her voice steadier than she felt. Vanessa's gaze traveled over Kongjun, slowly, deliberately, taking in his height, the tattoos visible at his collar, the way he stood slightly behind Elena with one hand resting at the small of her back. Possessive, protective, unmistakable. Well, Vanessa said, her smile tightening, the more the merrier. Come in. Everyone's already here. Elena stepped inside, and the warmth hit her immediately. Fireplace crackling, wine glasses clinking. Voices layered over soft jazz playing from hidden speakers. The cabin was beautiful, all exposed beams and leather furniture and windows overlooking snow-covered pines that disappeared into darkness. And standing beside the fireplace, laughing at something someone said, was Ryan Mercer. Elena's breath stopped. He looked older, broader through the shoulders. His brown hair was shorter now, styled with the kind of careless precision that took money and effort. He wore a navy sweater and khakis, his hand wrapped around a whiskey glass, his face open and relaxed. He looked happy, like he'd never spent a single night thinking about what he'd done to her. Kongjun's hand tightened against her back. She didn't look at him. Couldn't. If she looked at him now, she'd break. "Everyone," Vanessa called out, her voice cutting through the conversation. "This is Elena, and her—" She paused, eyebrows raised in question. "Boyfriend," Kongjun said, his voice low and firm. "Seo Kang-jun." The room shifted. Conversations died. Heads turned. Elena felt every pair of eyes lock onto Kongjun, felt the weight of their attention, their curiosity, their unease. Ryan looked up. Their eyes met. For 3 seconds, recognition flickered across his face. Then he smiled, easy, charming, completely unbothered. "Elena Hart," Ryan said, setting his glass down and crossing the room. "Holy shit, how long has it been?" 10 years, Elena managed. 10 years. Ryan shook his head, grinning. "You look great, really great." He held out his hand for a shake. Elena took it because refusing would have drawn more attention. His grip was warm, familiar in a way that made her skin crawl. Then Ryan turned to Kongjun and extended the same hand. "Ryan Mercer, good to meet you." Kongjun looked at Ryan's hand like it was something diseased. He didn't take it, didn't move, just stared at Ryan with those dark, cold eyes until the smile on Ryan's face began to falter. "Right," Ryan said, dropping his hand and laughing awkwardly. "Not a handshake, guy." "Got it." Kongjun said nothing. Elena felt the air thicken, felt the tension coil between the two men like a living thing. Around them, the other guests had gone silent, watching with the kind of fascination people reserved for car crashes. Vanessa broke the moment with a too bright laugh. "Let me get you two some drinks," she said, already moving toward the kitchen. "We've got wine, beer, whiskey." "We're fine," Kongjun said. Vanessa stopped, turned. Her smile was still in place, but her eyes had gone sharp. "You sure? It's going to be a long weekend." "We're sure." Elena wanted to disappear, wanted to rewind the last 5 minutes and stay in Houston, wanted to be anywhere but here, trapped between Kongjun's silent rage and Ryan's oblivious charm, and Vanessa's barely concealed glee at watching her squirm. "Well," Vanessa said, recovering quickly, "make yourselves comfortable. Dinner's in an hour." She turned and walked away, her heels clicking against the hardwood. Ryan clapped his hands together. "So, Elena, what have you been up to? Still in Houston?" "Yeah," Elena said. "I'm a marketing consultant." "No shit, that's great. You always were good with people." Kongjun's hand moved from her back to her waist. The touch was subtle but unmistakable. Mine. Ryan noticed. His gaze flickered down, then back up, his smile dimming just slightly. "And you two, how'd you meet?" "Car accident," Kongjun said before Elena could answer. "She hit my car." Ryan laughed. "Seriously? That's one hell of a meet cute." "It wasn't cute." "Right, of course, I just meant—" Ryan rubbed the back of his neck, his discomfort growing. "Anyway, good to see you, Elena. We should catch up later." He retreated to the fireplace. Elena exhaled slowly. Beside her, Kongjun remained perfectly still, his hand still resting at her waist, his body radiating controlled violence. "I need air," Elena whispered. Kongjun nodded once. Together, they moved toward the back door, a sliding glass panel that led onto a snow-covered deck. The cold hit Elena like a slap, but she welcomed it, needed it. She gripped the railing and stared out at the trees. Kongjun stood beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. "You okay?" he asked. "No." "Do you want to leave?" "Yes, but I'm not going to." Kongjun turned to face her, his expression unreadable. "Why not?" "Because I've spent 10 years running from him. I'm tired of it. Running isn't weakness, Elena. It feels like it. Kang Jun reached out and tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. That man is nothing. He's a fucking ghost. And the only reason he's still breathing is because you haven't given me permission to fix that yet. Elena's breath hitched. Kang Jun, I'm serious. Say the word and he won't make it home. He wasn't joking. She could see it in his face. This wasn't hyperbole or bravado. This was a promise. And the worst part was that some dark, broken piece of her wanted to say yes. I don't want you to hurt him, Elena said quietly. Then what do you want? I want him to see me, really see me, and realize he didn't destroy me. Kang Jun studied her for a long moment. Then he leaned down and pressed a kiss to her forehead, soft, deliberate, grounding. He's already seen you, Elena. He's seen what he lost, and it's eating him alive. How do you know? Because he looked at you the way a man looks at something he threw away and just realized was valuable. Elena closed her eyes, let herself lean into Kang Jun's warmth. Inside the cabin, laughter erupted. Glasses clinked. Life continued like nothing had shifted. But everything had. And Elena knew, deep down, bone deep, that this weekend was going to tear something open that she'd spent years trying to bury. Dinner was a disaster waiting to happen. The long wooden table stretched across the cabin's dining area, set with mismatched plates and flickering candles. Vanessa had gone all out: roasted chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, braised vegetables, fresh bread. The kind of meal designed to look effortless, but screamed hours of preparation. Elena sat between Kang Jun and a woman named Jess, someone from Vanessa's yoga class, who spent the first 10 minutes talking about cleanses and chakra alignment. Across the table, Ryan sat beside Vanessa, his chair angled so he could see Elena clearly. He kept looking at her, not staring, just glancing, like he was trying to reconcile the girl he'd humiliated with the woman sitting across from him now. Kang Jun noticed. His jaw tightened every time Ryan's gaze drifted toward Elena. His hand rested on her thigh beneath the table, a silent reminder that she wasn't alone. So, Kang Jun, Vanessa said, pouring herself more wine, what do you do? Import and export. That's vague. It's accurate. Vanessa's smile sharpened. Import and export of what? Things people need. How mysterious. She leaned forward, eyes glittering. Are you rich? Kang Jun looked at her without expression. Yes. How rich? Vanessa, Elena said quietly, a warning in her tone. What? I'm just curious. Vanessa gestured around the table. We're all friends here, no judgment. Kang Jun set his fork down, wiped his mouth with his napkin, then looked directly at Vanessa. Rich enough that I don't need to ask people about their finances to feel better about mine, he said calmly. The table went silent. Vanessa's face flushed red. Jess coughed into her wine glass. Ryan stared at his plate like it held the answers to the universe. Elena bit the inside of her cheek to keep from smiling. I wasn't trying to... Vanessa started. Yes, you were, Kang Jun said. But that's fine. You're allowed to be curious. Just don't pretend it's anything other than what it is. Vanessa's mouth opened, closed. She reached for her wine and drained half the glass in one swallow. Beside her, Ryan cleared his throat. So, Elena, he said, clearly trying to redirect the conversation. Remember that Valentine's Day in senior year, the one where you... Don't, Elena said. Ryan blinked. What? Don't bring that up. I was just... I know what you were doing. Don't. Ryan's expression shifted. Confusion. Then something like hurt. I wasn't trying to be a dick, Elena. It was just a memory. It wasn't just a memory for me. The words hung in the air. Kang Jun's hand tightened on her thigh. Protective. Grounding. Ryan set his fork down. Look, if I did something that upset you back then, I'm sorry. We were kids. I was stupid. You humiliated me in front of everyone. I didn't. You did. Elena's voice was steady now, cold. You read my note out loud. You laughed. You made sure everyone knew how pathetic I was for thinking you'd ever want me. Ryan's face went pale. Around the table, the other guests had frozen, forks halfway to their mouths, eyes wide. Elena, Ryan said quietly, I was 17. I didn't know what I was doing. You knew exactly what you were doing. I was trying to be funny. You were trying to be cruel, and it worked. Kang Jun stood. The movement was so sudden, so controlled, that everyone flinched. He didn't raise his voice, didn't move toward Ryan, just stood there, towering over the table, his eyes locked on Ryan with the kind of focus that made men confess to crimes they didn't commit. She's done talking to you, Kang Jun said softly. Ryan swallowed hard. I wasn't. Yes, you were. Now you're not. Vanessa laughed, sharp, nervous. Jesus, Kang Jun, relax. He's just trying to apologize. Kang Jun turned his gaze to her. No, he's trying to make himself feel better. There's a difference. You don't even know him. I know enough. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. Really? Because from where I'm sitting, you seem like the kind of guy who solves problems with violence. Kang Jun smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. You'd be right, he said. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Elena stood quickly, her chair scraping against the floor. I need some air. She didn't wait for a response. Just walked out of the dining room, through the living area, and out the front door into the freezing night. The cold hit her like a wall. She wrapped her arms around herself and walked down the porch steps, her breath misting in front of her face. Behind her, the door opened. Kang Jun. He didn't say anything, just came to stand beside her, shrugging off his jacket and draping it over her shoulders. It smelled like him, cedar and smoke and safety. I'm sorry, Elena said. For what? For dragging you into this mess. You didn't drag me. I came willingly. You shouldn't have. Kang Jun turned her to face him, his hands on her shoulders. Listen to me. That man in there? He's a coward. He hurt you because he could. Because it made him feel powerful. And now he's pretending it didn't matter because admitting it would mean admitting he's a piece of shit. He said he was sorry. No. He said he was 17. That's not an apology. That's an excuse. Elena's eyes burned. I just want this weekend to be over. Then we leave. Right now. I can't. Why not? Because if I leave, she wins. Who? Vanessa? Elena nodded. Kang Jun's expression darkened. Vanessa set this up, he said quietly. She invited him knowing what he did to you. She wanted to watch you suffer. I know. Then why stay? Because I need to prove to myself that I can. Kang Jun pulled her into his chest. She pressed her face against his shirt and let herself breathe. Let herself feel safe, even if it was just for a moment. I won't let him hurt you again, Kang Jun murmured against her hair. I don't care what I have to do. He won't touch you. Elena believed him, and that was the scariest part. The rest of the night passed in a haze of forced conversation and too much wine. Vanessa kept refilling glasses, her smile growing wider and sharper with every drink. Ryan retreated into silence, shooting glances at Elena when he thought no one was looking. Kang Jun stayed close, always within arm's reach, always watching. By midnight, most of the group had gone to bed. Elena and Kang Jun were given a room on the second floor, small, cozy, with a queen bed and a window overlooking the forest. Elena sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her hands. Kang Jun locked the door and came to sit beside her. You need to sleep, he said. I can't. Try. My brain won't stop. Kang Jun reached over and took her hand, lacing their fingers together. What's it doing? Replaying every moment, every look, every word. Elena, I thought I was over it. Her voice cracked. I thought I'd moved on. But seeing him again, it's like I'm 17 all over again. Standing in that hallway, watching him laugh. Feeling like I'm nothing. Kang Jun's grip tightened. You're not nothing. I know that logically, but it doesn't feel that way. Kang Jun shifted, turning to face her fully. Look at me. She did. His eyes were dark, intense, unrelenting. You survived, he said. You built a life. You became someone worth knowing. And that man downstairs? He peaked in high school. He's got nothing now except the memory of the power he used to have over people weaker than him. But you're not weak anymore, Elena. You're stronger than he'll ever be. Tears slipped down her cheeks. How do you always know what to say? I don't. I just tell you the truth. Elena leaned forward and kissed him, soft at first, then harder, desperate, like she needed to drown out everything else with the feeling of him. Kongjun kissed her back, his hands framing her face, his touch gentle despite the violence she knew lived beneath his skin. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard. "Stay with me tonight," Elena whispered. "I'm not going anywhere." They lay down together, still fully clothed, Elena curled against Kongjun's chest while he traced slow circles against her back. Outside, the wind howled through the trees. Inside, Elena finally closed her eyes, and for a few hours she let herself forget. Morning came too fast. Elena woke to gray light filtering through the curtains and the smell of coffee drifting up from downstairs. Kongjun was already awake, sitting on the edge of the bed, checking his phone. "Morning," she mumbled. He glanced back at her, his expression softening slightly. "Morning. Sleep okay?" "Better than I expected." "Good." He stood and moved to the window, looking out at the snow. Something in his posture had shifted, tension, alert. "What's wrong?" Elena asked. "Nothing." "Kongjun." He turned back to her, his jaw tight. "My guys found something." "What guys?" "The ones I had watching this place." Elena sat up. "You have people watching the cabin?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I don't trust anyone here, and I was right not to." He crossed his arms. "Vanessa's been digging into me." "What do you mean, digging?" "She hired someone to look into my background, who I am, what I do." "She knows, Elena." Elena's blood went cold. "Knows what?" Kongjun met her eyes. "She knows what I really do," he said quietly. "And if she knows, she's going to tell everyone." Elena's chest tightened. "What do you really do, Kongjun?" He didn't answer. "Kongjun, tell me." "You already know." "Say it." He exhaled slowly, looked at her with something that might have been regret. "I run a criminal organization," he said. "Korean Mafia. Import, export, enforcement, protection, everything you've been pretending not to see for the past month." The room tilted. Elena stared at him, her mind racing. She'd known. Of course she'd known. The tattoos, the way people moved around him, the fear, the money. But hearing him say it out loud made it real in a way she couldn't ignore. "How bad?" she whispered. "Bad." "Have you killed people?" Kongjun didn't flinch. "Yes." Elena stood, her hands shaking. "Jesus Christ!" "Elena, don't." She backed away, pressing her palms to her temples. "I need a minute." "We don't have a minute. If Vanessa tells everyone, then let her. You don't understand what that means." "Then explain it to me." Kongjun closed the distance between them in 2 steps. His hands gripped her shoulders, firm but not painful. "If people know who I am, they'll panic," he said. "And when people panic, they do stupid things. They'll call the police, they'll try to run, and that puts you in danger. I'm already in danger. I'm standing in a cabin with a man who just admitted to being a fucking mobster. I would never hurt you." "You hurt other people." "Yes, I do. Because that's the world I live in. That's the choice I made a long time ago. But I have never lied to you about what I am, Elena. I told you I was dangerous. I told you to be scared. You chose to stay anyway." Elena's breath came in short, sharp gasps. "I didn't know it was this." "Yes, you did." "No, yes." His voice dropped, softer now. "You knew. You just didn't want to admit it, because admitting it would mean making a choice, and you weren't ready." Tears slid down her face. "I still don't know if I am." Kongjun's expression cracked, just for a second, just long enough for her to see the fear beneath the control. "Then figure it out fast," he said quietly, "because in about 2 hours, Vanessa's going to blow this whole thing open, and you need to decide if you're with me or if you're running." Before Elena could answer, footsteps echoed in the hallway, a knock at the door. "Elena?" Vanessa's voice, bright, cheerful, poison wrapped in sugar. "You awake? We're making breakfast." Kongjun and Elena stared at each other. "Coming," Elena called out, her voice surprisingly steady. The footsteps retreated. Kongjun released her shoulders and stepped back. "Get dressed," he said. And stay close to me, no matter what happens. Elena nodded, and as she pulled on her clothes, her hands still shaking, she realized she'd already made her choice. She just didn't know if it was the right one yet. Tamkit. Downstairs, the cabin buzzed with false cheerfulness. Vanessa moved around the kitchen like a conductor orchestrating chaos, flipping pancakes, pouring orange juice, laughing too loud at jokes that weren't funny. Ryan sat at the kitchen island, nursing black coffee and looking like he hadn't slept. The other guests milled around, oblivious to the tension crackling beneath the surface. Elena and Kangjun entered together. Vanessa's eyes lit up the moment she saw them. "There you are. I was starting to think you two weren't coming down." Her gaze slid to Kangjun, lingering. "Sleep well?" "Fine," Elena said. "Good, good." Vanessa set a plate of pancakes on the counter. "Help yourselves. We've got a full day planned. Snowshoeing, hot tub, maybe some games tonight." "Sounds great," Elena lied. Kangjun said nothing. He poured 2 cups of coffee and handed one to Elena. Their fingers brushed, and she felt the steadiness in his touch. Ryan looked up. "Hey, Elena, can we talk?" "No," Kangjun said before Elena could respond. Ryan's jaw tightened. "I wasn't asking you." "I don't care." "Jesus Christ, man. What's your problem?" Kangjun set his coffee down, slowly, deliberately. You're my problem. I'm just trying to apologize. You're trying to make yourself feel better. There's a difference." Ryan stood, his hands clenched into fists. "You don't know anything about me. I know you're a coward who hurt a 17-year-old girl because it made you feel powerful. I know you're still that same coward now, hiding behind apologies you don't mean. That's not fair." "Fair?" Kangjun's voice went cold. "You want to talk about fair? Then let's talk about what you did to her. Let's talk about how you read her note out loud, how you laughed while she stood there crying, how you destroyed her confidence because you thought it was funny." The kitchen went silent. Vanessa's smile had frozen on her face. Jess stared at her plate. The other guests looked anywhere but at Ryan. Ryan's face flushed red. "That was 10 years ago. And you never apologized." "Not really." "I tried." "You said you were 17. That's not an apology. That's a fucking excuse." Ryan's hands shook. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Kangjun smiled, cold, predatory. "Someone who actually gives a shit about her," he said quietly. "Which is more than you ever did." Ryan lunged. It happened fast. Too fast for anyone to react. 1 second, Ryan was standing behind the counter. The next, he was swinging at Kangjun's face. Kangjun moved like water. He sidestepped the punch, caught Ryan's wrist mid-swing, and twisted. Ryan gasped in pain and dropped to one knee. "Don't," Kangjun said softly. Ryan tried to pull free. Kangjun's grip tightened. "I said don't." "Let go of me!" Kangjun released him with a shove. Ryan stumbled backward, clutching his wrist. "You're fucking crazy," Ryan spat. "No, I'm just done pretending you deserve respect." Vanessa laughed, sharp, brittle. "Well," she said, clapping her hands together, "this has been fun. But I think it's time we all knew the truth about your boyfriend, Elena." Elena's stomach dropped. "Vanessa, did you know he's a criminal?" Vanessa's voice rang through the cabin. "Not just any criminal. A mobster, Korean Mafia. The guy you've been sleeping with runs a fucking crime syndicate." The room exploded. Gasps, whispers, chairs scraping as people stood and backed away from Kangjun like he was radioactive. Elena felt the world tilt. Kangjun didn't move, didn't react, just stood there, calm and cold, while chaos erupted around him. "Is that true?" Jess whispered. Vanessa crossed her arms, triumphant. "Oh, it's true. I had him investigated. CO Kangjun, head of one of the largest Korean organized crime operations in Texas. Violence, extortion, God knows what else." Elena looked at Kangjun. He met her eyes. And in that moment, she saw everything. The danger, the darkness, the blood on his hands. But she also saw the man who'd cooked for her, who'd listened to her, who'd protected her when no one else would. "Elena," Vanessa said, her voice dripping with false concern. "You need to get away from him, now." Elena's heart pounded. Everyone was staring at her, waiting. She took a breath. And then she stepped closer to Kang Jun and took his hand. "No," she said quietly. Vanessa's face twisted. "What?" "I said no. He's a criminal, Elena." "I know. He's dangerous." "I know that too." "Then what the hell are you doing?" Elena looked at Vanessa, really looked at her, saw the jealousy, the cruelty, the desperate need to tear down anything that didn't belong to her. "I'm choosing him," Elena said. "Over you, over Ryan, over all of this." Vanessa's mouth opened, closed, and then the front windows exploded. Glass shattered inward, screams erupted, people dove for cover, men in black tactical gear poured through the broken windows, weapons raised. Kang Jun shoved Elena behind him. "Stay down," he ordered. Then he moved, and Elena watched in horror as the man she loved became something else entirely. The first gunshot shattered the chaos into something worse. Elena's ears rang. She couldn't hear the screams anymore, just a high-pitched whine that drowned everything else out. Kang Jun had her pinned against the kitchen island, his body covering hers, one hand pressed flat against her head to keep her down. Around them, the cabin had become a war zone. Men in black moved like shadows through the shattered windows. 4 of them, maybe 5. Elena couldn't count through the smoke and broken glass. They wore tactical vests and ski masks, and they carried weapons that looked military-grade, short-barreled rifles with attachments Elena didn't recognize. Vanessa was screaming. Ryan had thrown himself under the dining table. Jess sobbed in the corner, her hands covering her head. Kang Jun moved. He grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter, 8 inches of carbon steel, and threw it across the room in one fluid motion. The blade buried itself in the throat of the nearest attacker. The man gurgled once and dropped. Elena's stomach heaved. Kang Jun didn't pause. He rolled left as bullets tore through the space where he'd been standing, grabbed a fallen rifle, and came up firing. 2 shots. Clean. Efficient. Another attacker went down. "Bedroom," Kang Jun barked at her. "Now." Elena couldn't move. Her legs had locked. Her brain kept trying to process what she was seeing. Kang Jun moving like a trained killer, bodies hitting the floor, blood spreading across hardwood, but it wouldn't connect. "Elena!" Kang Jun's voice cut through the ringing in her ears. "Move!" She moved, crawled toward the stairs on her hands and knees, glass cutting into her palms. Behind her, gunfire erupted again. Wood splintered. Someone screamed, a man's voice, raw and agonized. Elena made it to the staircase and looked back. Kang Jun stood in the center of the living room, blood spattered across his face and shirt, holding a rifle like he'd been born with it. 3 bodies lay motionless around him. The remaining attackers had retreated behind furniture, firing in short bursts. But Kang Jun wasn't looking at them. He was looking at the front door. It opened slowly. A man stepped inside. Tall, Korean. Older than Kang Jun, maybe late 40s, with silver streaking through his black hair. He wore an expensive black overcoat dusted with snow, and his hands were empty. No weapon, no visible threat. But the way Kang Jun's entire body went rigid told Elena everything. This man was worse than any gun. "Juna," the man said, his voice quiet and conversational, like they were meeting for coffee instead of standing in a bloodbath. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." Kang Jun's jaw clenched. "Hyung." The word was Korean. Elena didn't know what it meant, but she heard the venom in it. The older man smiled. "Still so dramatic. Put the gun down. We need to talk." "We have nothing to talk about." "I disagree. You've been avoiding my calls, ignoring my messages. That's disrespectful, Juna, after everything I've done for you." Kang Jun's grip tightened on the rifle. "You sent men to kill me. To retrieve you. There's a difference. 3 of them are dead. And I'll send more if I have to." The older man stepped over a body without looking down. "But I'd prefer not to. You're too valuable to waste." "I'm done, Sung-ho. I told you that 6 months ago." Sung-ho's smile faded. "You don't get to be done. That's not how this works. I'm making it how it works." "By running off with some American girl?" Sung-ho's gaze shifted to Elena, still crouched on the stairs. His eyes were flat, dead. "That's your weakness now? Her?" Kang Jun moved between them, blocking Sung-ho's line of sight. "Leave her out of this." "She's already in it. The moment you brought her into your life, she became a liability. She's not part of the organization. Exactly, which makes her a problem. Sung-ho clasped his hands behind his back, all false patience. Come back to Seoul with me. Clean break. I'll even let the girl live. That's generous, considering. Elena's blood turned to ice. Let her live. Like it was a favor, like her life was something he could grant or take on a whim. Kang-jun lowered the rifle slightly. You're lying. I'm not. You know I keep my word. Your word means nothing. It meant something when I pulled you out of that gutter in Busan, when I gave you purpose, when I made you into what you are. Kang-jun's expression didn't change, but Elena saw his finger twitch near the trigger. What I am, Kang-jun said slowly, is what you trained me to be, a weapon. And now you're surprised the weapon wants to stop killing. You don't stop, Junna. You never stop. That's the deal we made. I was 15. Old enough to know what you were agreeing to. I was a kid with nowhere else to go. Sung-ho shrugged. And I gave you everything. Money, power, respect. You think you'd have any of that without me? I'd have my fucking soul. Sung-ho laughed, cold, humorless. Your soul. Listen to yourself. You sound like her. He gestured toward Elena. Is this what she's done to you? Made you soft? Made you think you can walk away and live some fantasy life? I'm not asking for permission. You should be. Sung-ho's voice dropped, losing its conversational tone. Because without permission, you're a dead man. And so is everyone you care about. The remaining attackers stepped out from behind cover, weapons trained on Kang-jun, 4 rifles, all pointed at his chest. Kang-jun didn't move. Elena's heart hammered so hard she thought it would break through her ribs. Last chance, Sung-ho said. Come with me, or I kill her first and make you watch. Kang-jun's shoulders sagged. For the first time since Elena had met him, he looked defeated. Fine, Kang-jun said quietly. I'll come with you. No. Elena's voice cracked as she stumbled down the stairs. Don't. Stay back, Elena. I'm not letting you. Stay. Back. Kang-jun handed the rifle to one of the masked men. Then he held his hands up, surrender clear in every line of his body. Sung-ho smiled. Smart boy. He gestured to his men. 2 of them moved forward, pulling zip ties from their vests. And that's when Vanessa started laughing. The sound cut through the tension like nails on glass. Everyone turned. Vanessa stood by the shattered window, her arms wrapped around herself, her face streaked with tears and makeup. But she was laughing. Hysterical. Manic. Oh my God, she gasped between laughs. Oh my God, this is perfect. Shut up, Ryan hissed from under the table. Vanessa ignored him, her wild eyes locked on Elena. You really thought he was different, didn't you? You thought the big bad mobster was going to save you from your pathetic little life. Elena stared at her. Vanessa. But he's just like everyone else. He's leaving you, just like Ryan did, just like everyone does. Because you're not worth staying for, Elena. You never were. The words hit like bullets. Elena felt something crack inside her chest, not her heart, something deeper. The fragile belief that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't the broken girl from high school anymore. Kang-jun's expression went murderous. If you say one more word, he said to Vanessa, his voice barely above a whisper, I will tear your tongue out. Vanessa's laughter died. She looked at Kang-jun, and whatever she saw in his face made her stumble backward. Sung-ho sighed. Enough. Bind him, and let's go. The men moved toward Kang-jun, and then the back door exploded inward. More men poured in, but these wore different uniforms. Dark suits, no masks, and the weapons they carried were bigger, professional. At the front stood a man Elena recognized from the penthouse, Kang-jun's driver, the one who never smiled. Boss, the man said calmly. We're here. Sung-ho's face twisted. How? Kang-jun smiled, cold, vicious. You think I didn't know you'd come? He said. You think I walked into this blind? He grabbed the zip tie one of Sung-ho's men was holding and twisted. The man screamed. Kang-jun took his rifle and fired point blank into the next attacker. Chaos erupted again. Kang Jun's men moved like a synchronized unit, clean shots, tactical precision. Sung Ho's remaining attackers went down fast. Too fast. They'd been outnumbered from the start. Sung Ho ran. He made it 3 steps before Kang Jun tackled him to the ground. They hit hard, rolling across broken glass and spent shell casings. Sung Ho threw a punch. Kang Jun blocked it and drove his fist into Sung Ho's ribs. Once, twice, 3 times. Sung Ho gasped, blood bubbling at his lips. Kang Jun grabbed him by the collar and hauled him up, slamming him against the wall hard enough to crack the drywall. "You come near her again," Kang Jun said, his voice perfectly calm, "and I will burn everything you've built to the ground. Your operations, your money, your legacy, all of it. Gone." Sung Ho laughed wetly. "You can't. I have copies of every transaction you've made in the last 10 years. Every deal, every bribe, every name. I've been ready to destroy you for months. The only reason you're still breathing is because I haven't decided if killing you is worth the cleanup." Sung Ho's eyes widened. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Kang Jun leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper Elena couldn't hear. Whatever he said made Sung Ho go pale. "Get him out of here," Kang Jun said to his men, releasing Sung Ho with a shove. 2 of them grabbed Sung Ho and dragged him toward the door. He didn't resist, just stared at Kang Jun with something that looked like fear. The driver approached Kang Jun. "We need to move. Police are 10 minutes out." "Clean the scene first." "Already on it." Kang Jun nodded. Then he turned and walked straight to Elena. She was still on the stairs, frozen, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. Kang Jun crouched in front of her, his hands gentle as they framed her face. Blood streaked his skin, his knuckles were split, but his eyes were soft. "Are you hurt?" he asked. Elena shook her head. She couldn't speak. "Elena, look at me." She did. "I need you to trust me right now. Can you do that?" She nodded. "We have to leave. Immediately. Can you walk?" Another nod. Kang Jun helped her stand. Her legs shook, but they held. Around them, his men worked with terrifying efficiency, removing bodies, collecting shell casings, wiping down surfaces, like they'd done this 100 times before, because they probably had. Vanessa stood in the corner, silent now, her face white as snow. Ryan hadn't moved from under the table. Jess sobbed quietly, curled into a ball. Kang Jun guided Elena toward the back door. His driver met them halfway, holding out a heavy coat. "For her," the driver said. Kang Jun took it and wrapped it around Elena's shoulders. Then he led her outside into the freezing night. Snow fell in thick sheets. The forest stretched endlessly in every direction. A black SUV idled in the driveway, exhaust steaming in the cold air. Kang Jun opened the back door and helped Elena inside. The heat hit her immediately, but she couldn't stop shaking. He slid in beside her and closed the door. The driver got behind the wheel. "Where to?" "Safe house, the one in Galveston." "Yes, sir." The SUV pulled away, tires crunching over snow. Elena stared out the window as the cabin disappeared behind them. She felt numb, empty, like her brain had shut down to protect itself from overload. Kang Jun reached over and took her hand. She flinched. The movement was involuntary, instinctive, and the moment it happened, she saw the pain flash across his face. "Elena, don't." Her voice came out hollow. "Just don't." He withdrew his hand. They drove in silence. Took him. The safe house wasn't a house. It was a fortress. Set back from the Galveston coast, surrounded by walls and security cameras, the building looked like a modernist bunker, all concrete and steel and tinted windows. The driver pulled up to a reinforced gate. It opened automatically. Inside, more men waited. They didn't speak to Kang Jun, just nodded and disappeared into the building. Kang Jun led Elena through a series of locked doors and finally into a bedroom on the 2nd floor. Spartan. Clean. A king bed, a chair, blackout curtains. "You'll be safe here," he said. Elena walked to the window and stared out at the dark ocean. "Safe," she repeated. The word felt foreign in her mouth. "Elena, how many people have you killed?" The question hung in the air. Kang Jun didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quiet, steady. "I stopped counting a long time ago." Elena closed her eyes. "Jesus Christ!" I told you what I was. You told me you were dangerous. You didn't tell me you were a... She couldn't say the word. Monster, Kang Jun finished for her. You can say it. It's true. Elena turned to face him. Is this what you do? You kill people? You hurt them? You destroy lives? Yes. And you feel nothing? I feel everything. I just don't let it stop me. Why not? Because if I stop, I'm dead. And everyone I protect is dead with me. So it's all justified. The violence? The blood? No. Kang Jun's jaw tightened. It's not justified. It's just necessary. Necessary for what? Survival. Elena laughed bitterly. That's such bullshit. Is it? Yes, you chose this, Kang Jun. You chose to be this person. I was 15 years old with nowhere to go. Sung Ho found me sleeping in an alley in Busan. I was starving, covered in bruises from the last guy who tried to rob me. He gave me food, a place to sleep, and in exchange, I did what he told me to do. You killed for him. Eventually, at first it was just deliveries, messages, small things, but then he stopped, exhaled. Then he asked me to hurt someone, and I did, because saying no meant going back to the streets. And I couldn't do that again. Elena's chest ached. So you became this instead. I became what I needed to be to survive. And now? What's your excuse now? Kang Jun looked at her, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked lost. I don't have one, he said quietly. I stayed because I was good at it, because I built something, because walking away felt impossible. Felt? Feels. He stepped closer. Until I met you. Elena shook her head. Don't do that. Don't make this about me. It is about you. You're the first person who's made me want something different. I can't be your reason to change, Kang Jun. That's too much weight. Then what do you want me to say it? I want you to tell me the truth, all of it. No more half answers, no more deflecting. Kang Jun's expression hardened. You want the truth? Fine. I run an organization that traffics in violence. We control territory. We enforce debts. We make sure the people who cross us regret it. I've killed men who begged for their lives. I've ordered executions. I've burned buildings with people inside because they threatened what's mine. Elena's stomach turned. I am not a good man, Kang Jun continued, his voice cold now, detached. I will never be a good man. The best I can offer is that I'm honest about what I am, and that I would do anything, to keep you safe, even if that means becoming worse. Silence filled the room. Elena wrapped her arms around herself. I don't know if I can do this. Do what? Be with someone like you. The words landed like a punch. Kang Jun's face went carefully blank. Okay, he said. Okay? You need time. I get it. Take as much as you need. And if I decide I can't? Kang Jun's jaw worked. Then I'll make sure you're protected anyway. Set you up somewhere safe. Give you money to start over. Whatever you need. You just let me go? If that's what you want, yes. Even though you said you love me? Especially because I love you. Elena stared at him, searched his face for a lie, found none. I'm so tired, she whispered. I know. I don't know what to think anymore. Then don't think. Just sleep. Kang Jun moved toward the door. Wait, Elena said. He stopped. Stay. Please. He turned back, surprise flickering across his face. I don't want to be alone right now, Elena said. Even if I'm angry, even if I'm scared, I can't be alone. Kang Jun nodded slowly. He walked to the chair by the window and sat down, positioning himself between Elena and the door, always protecting, even when she didn't know if she wanted his protection anymore. Elena lay down on the bed, fully clothed. She pulled the blanket up to her chin and stared at the ceiling. Outside, waves crashed against the shore. Inside, silence stretched like a wound. And somewhere between exhaustion and heartbreak, Elena finally fell asleep. She woke to voices, angry voices, coming from somewhere below. Elena sat up, disoriented. Pale morning light filtered through the curtains. The chair by the window was empty. Kang Jun was gone. She stood on shaky legs and moved to the door, pressed her ear against it. Two men arguing. One was Kangjun, the other she didn't recognize. Can't keep her here forever, the stranger said. I'm not keeping her. She's staying because she wants to. Does she? Or is she staying because she's terrified and doesn't know where else to go? That's not your concern. It is if she becomes a liability. She's a civilian, June. A civilian who knows too much. You know how this ends. It ends however I say it ends. The organization won't see it that way. The organization answers to me. Not anymore. Not after the stunt you pulled with Sung Ho. You think the board's going to let that slide? You threatened to burn everything. You humiliated him. There will be consequences. Let them come. You're willing to die for her? Silence. Then Kangjun's voice, low and deadly. Yes. Elena's breath caught. The stranger laughed. Harsh. Bitter. Then you're a fool. And fools don't survive long in this world. Maybe I don't want to survive anymore. Jesus Christ, listen to yourself. A month ago, you were the most ruthless enforcer we had. Now you're talking about throwing it all away for some girl you barely know. I know her well enough. You know what she shows you. You don't know what she'll do when things get worse. And they will get worse, Jun. They always do. Footsteps. Moving away. Then Kangjun's voice again, quieter now. Get out. I'm trying to help you. No. You're trying to protect the organization. There's a difference. The organization is all we have. It's not all I have, not anymore. A door slammed. Elena stepped back from her door, her heart racing. A liability. That's what she was to them. A weakness. A problem to be solved. And Kangjun was willing to die for her. The thought should have been romantic. Instead, it felt like a noose tightening around her throat. A soft knock at her door. Elena? Kangjun's voice. You awake? She opened the door. He stood in the hallway looking exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his shirt wrinkled, blood still staining the cuffs. I heard you, Elena said. His expression tightened. How much? Enough. Then you know the situation. That your people think I'm a liability? Yeah, I got that part. Kangjun stepped closer. You're not. Don't lie to me. Not now. They're right, aren't they? I'm a problem. And problems in your world get eliminated. Elena, how long? She interrupted. How long before they decide I'm not worth the risk? A week? A month? It doesn't matter. I won't let them touch you. You can't protect me forever. Watch me. Elena laughed, and the sound came out broken. You're going to get yourself killed. Probably. That doesn't scare you? Not as much as losing you does. Elena pressed her palms to her face. This is insane. This whole situation is insane. I know. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be dragged into your world. I know that too. Then let me go. Kangjun went still. What? Let me go. Set me up somewhere far away like you said. Give me money to disappear and walk away before this destroys both of us. No. Kangjun, no. His voice turned hard. I'm not letting you go. Not because you're scared. Not because this is hard. Not because my world is ugly. You knew what I was, Elena. You chose to stay anyway. I didn't know it would be like this. Yes, you did. You just didn't want to admit it. Elena's hands clenched into fists. You're so fucking arrogant. I'm realistic. You want me to let you run because you think it'll keep you safe. But it won't. The moment you walk away, you become a loose end, and loose ends get tied up. So I'm your prisoner now? You're under my protection. There's a difference. Is there? Kangjun grabbed her shoulders. Not rough, but firm enough that she couldn't pull away. Listen to me, he said, his voice low and urgent. I know you're scared. I know this isn't the life you wanted. But running won't save you. It'll just make you a target for people who don't care about you the way I do. So yes, you're staying here. Yes, you're under my protection. And no, I'm not apologizing for that. Elena's eyes burned. I hate you. No, you don't. I want to. I know. He released her shoulders. But you don't. She looked at him. Really looked at him. At the exhaustion carved into his face, The blood he hadn't washed off, the way he stood between her and the door like he could hold back the entire world. And she realized he was right. She didn't hate him. She was falling in love with him, and that terrified her more than anything else. "What happens now?" she whispered. Kang Jun exhaled slowly. "Now we figure out how to survive this, together. And if we can't?" His hand came up to cup her face, gentle, reverent. "Then we go down fighting," he said. And before Elena could respond, before she could think, before she could stop herself, she kissed him, hard, desperate, like she was drowning and he was air. Kang Jun froze for half a second. Then he kissed her back with the same desperation, his hands tangling in her hair, pulling her closer like he could merge them into one person if he just held on tight enough. They stumbled backward into the room. The door slammed shut. Kang Jun's back hit the wall, and Elena pressed against him, her hands fisting in his shirt. This wasn't soft, wasn't sweet. This was two people clinging to each other in the wreckage. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elena's forehead rested against his chest. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered. "Neither do I. What if it destroys us? Then we'll burn together." Elena closed her eyes, and for the first time since the cabin exploded into violence, she felt something other than fear. She felt chosen. Prompt. 3 days passed in the safe house. Kang Jun came and went, meetings, calls, business that Elena didn't ask about, and he didn't offer to explain. His men rotated shifts outside her door, silent, professional, terrifying in their competence. Elena spent the time trying to piece together what her life had become. She'd left Houston as a marketing consultant with a normal life. Now she was locked in a fortress, protected by killers, in love with a man who'd admitted to murder. Her phone had been confiscated. "For your safety," Kang Jun had said. Elena suspected it was also to keep her from calling anyone who might ask questions. On the third night, Kang Jun didn't come to her room. Elena waited until midnight, then 1, then 2. Finally, she opened her door. The guard outside, a young Korean man with a scar across his eyebrow, looked at her. "Where is he?" Elena asked. "Meeting." "Where?" "Can't say." "I'm not asking for permission." The guard's expression didn't change. "I have orders." "To keep me locked in?" "To keep you safe." "Same thing, apparently." The guard almost smiled. "Boss cares about you." "Does he?" "Yes. More than is smart." Elena studied him. "You think I'm a liability too." "I think you're dangerous. Not because of what you know, because of what you make him feel." "And what's that?" "Hope." The word landed heavy. The guard stepped aside. "He's in the West Wing, third door on the left, but I never told you that." Elena nodded and walked past him. The safe house was bigger than she'd realized. Hallways branched in multiple directions. Rooms sat dark and locked. Everything smelled like concrete and gun oil. She found the third door. Voices came from inside, Kang Jun's, and others she didn't recognize. She pressed her ear to the door. "Can't keep protecting her," someone said. "The board wants answers." "Tell the board to go to hell." "Jun, be realistic. You threatened Sung Ho. You exposed the organization to civilians. You've made yourself a target." "I've always been a target." "Not like this. This is different. They're calling for a vote." "A vote on what?" "Your leadership." Silence. Then Kang Jun's voice, colder than Elena had ever heard it. "Let them vote. I'll deal with the results." "And if they remove you?" "They won't." "How can you be sure?" "Because I'm the only one keeping this organization from tearing itself apart. They need me more than I need them. For now. But what happens when they decide she's the reason you're compromised?" Another silence. Elena's stomach dropped. "They touch her," Kang Jun said quietly. "And I burn it all. Every operation, every safe house, every dirty deal we've made. I'll bury the organization so deep it'll never recover, and then I'll kill every single person who voted yes." Someone laughed nervously. "You're bluffing." "Try me." Footsteps. The door opened. Elena stumbled back. Kang Jun stood in the doorway. His expression shuddered. Behind him, 3 men in expensive suits stared at her with varying degrees of hostility. Elena, Kongjun said evenly, you should be in your room. I wanted to see you. Now's not a good time. I gathered that. One of the men pushed past Kongjun, older, gray-haired, cold eyes. This is her? He said, looking Elena up and down like she was livestock. This is the woman you're willing to destroy everything for? Careful, Kongjun warned. The man ignored him. Do you have any idea what you've cost us? The exposure? The risk? Elena lifted her chin. I didn't ask for any of this. And yet here you are, a civilian who knows too much, a weakness we can't afford. Then let me go. It's too late for that. Why? The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Because dead women tell no tales. Kongjun moved so fast, Elena didn't see it. 1 second the man was standing, the next he was slammed against the wall, Kongjun's forearm across his throat. Say that again, Kongjun said softly. Please. The man gagged, clawing at Kongjun's arm. The other 2 men reached for weapons. Don't, Kongjun said without looking at them. Or I'll kill him, then you. Then I'll walk out of here and disappear with her. Your choice. No one moved. Kongjun released the man with a shove. He gasped, stumbling back. Get out, Kongjun said. All of you. They fled. Kongjun turned to Elena, and his carefully controlled expression cracked. You shouldn't have heard that, he said, but I did. Elena, they're going to kill me, aren't they? Your people. They're going to decide I'm not worth the risk, and they're going to eliminate the problem. Kongjun's hands clenched into fists. No. You can't stop all of them. Watch me. Kongjun, this is... She never finished the sentence, because the lights went out. All of them. Simultaneously. The safe house plunged into darkness, and somewhere in the black, men started screaming. The darkness swallowed everything. Elena couldn't see her own hand in front of her face. The hallway had disappeared. Kongjun had disappeared. The entire world had collapsed into blind, suffocating black. Then the screaming started. Gunfire erupted somewhere below. Short, controlled bursts followed by the wet sound of bodies hitting concrete. Men shouted in Korean. Orders, warnings, panic bleeding through discipline. Kongjun's hand found her wrist in the darkness. Don't move, he whispered directly into her ear. Don't make a sound. His grip was iron, steady, but Elena felt the tension vibrating through him like a live wire. More gunfire. Closer now. The muzzle flashes lit the hallway in strobing bursts, brief snapshots of horror. Bodies sprawled on the floor, blood spreading dark across white walls. Men in tactical gear moving like ghosts through the smoke. This wasn't Sung-ho. This was something worse. Kongjun pulled Elena backward, deeper into the room they'd been standing in. His other hand found her face, fingers pressing gently against her lips. Silence. She nodded against his palm. He released her and moved away. She heard fabric rustling, a metallic click. Then his hand found hers again and pressed something cold and heavy into her palm. A gun. Safety's off, he breathed. Point and squeeze. Don't hesitate. Elena's fingers closed around the grip. It was heavier than she'd expected. Solid. Real in a way that made her stomach turn. I don't know how... You do. Aim center mass. Pull the trigger. It'll do the rest. Kongjun, if someone comes through that door who isn't me, you shoot them. You understand? She couldn't answer. Her throat had locked. His hand cupped her face again. Elena, do you understand? Yes. Good girl. Then he was gone. She heard him move across the room, silent despite his size, and then the soft click of the door opening. Footsteps in the hallway. Running. Then nothing. Elena stood alone in the dark, holding a gun she didn't know how to use, listening to men die in the hallway outside. Her hands shook so badly she thought she'd dropped the weapon. Time stretched. Seconds became hours. Or maybe minutes. She couldn't tell anymore. The gunfire had stopped. The screaming had stopped. The silence was worse. Elena backed into the corner of the room, pressing her spine against the wall. The gun felt like it weighed 100 pounds. She raised it anyway, pointing it at where she thought the door was. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Coming closer. Elena's finger found the trigger. The door opened. A silhouette filled the frame, broad shoulders, tall, moving with predatory grace. "Don't shoot," Kong Jun's voice. Elena lowered the gun, her entire body sagging with relief. Light bloomed as Kong Jun turned on a flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing his face. Blood spattered across his cheek, his shirt torn at the shoulder. But his eyes were clear, focused. "We need to move," he said. "Now." "What's happening?" "Coup. The board decided they didn't want to wait for a vote." "They're trying to kill you?" "They're trying to kill both of us." He grabbed her hand. "Come on." They ran. Kang Jun led her through hallways Elena hadn't seen before, the flashlight beam bouncing ahead of them. Bodies lay crumpled in doorways, some in suits, some in tactical gear. Elena tried not to look at their faces, tried not to think about the fact that she was stepping over corpses. Behind them, voices echoed. Pursuit. Kang Jun pulled her into a stairwell, and they descended 3 floors in seconds. Her lungs burned, her legs screamed. The gun was still in her hand, slick with sweat. They burst through a door into an underground parking garage. Concrete pillars stretched in every direction. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, struggling against whatever had killed the main power. A black armored SUV sat idling near the exit ramp. The driver's door opened. The young guard with the scar stepped out, rifle in hand. "Boss," he said, relief clear in his voice. "We need to go. They've got the exits locked down." "Where's Min Ho?" "Dead. They hit the west wing first." Kang Jun's jaw tightened. "How many?" "At least 20, maybe more. They brought professionals." "Who authorized this?" "All of them. The entire board. This was coordinated." Kang Jun's hands clenched into fists. "Fucking cowards." More gunfire erupted from the stairwell they'd just left. Bullets sparked against concrete. "Get in!" the guard shouted. They ran for the SUV. Elena dove into the back seat. Kang Jun slid in beside her. The guard threw himself behind the wheel and slammed his foot on the accelerator. The SUV launched forward, tires screaming against concrete. Behind them, men poured out of the stairwell, weapons raised. Glass shattered as bullets punched through the rear window. Elena screamed and ducked. Kang Jun covered her with his body, pressing her down into the seat. The guard swerved around a concrete pillar. More gunfire. The SUV's back tire exploded. They kept moving. "Gates ahead!" the guard yelled. Elena lifted her head just enough to see. A heavy metal barrier blocked the exit ramp, reinforced and locked. "Ram it!" Kang Jun ordered. "It's reinforced. Ram it anyway!" The guard gritted his teeth and punched the accelerator harder. The SUV's engine roared, 60 miles per hour, 70, 80. The gate rushed toward them. Impact. The world exploded into noise and violence. Metal shrieked. Glass burst. Elena's head snapped forward and back, the seatbelt cutting into her chest. The airbags deployed with gunshot cracks. Then silence. Elena blinked through the chemical haze of deployed airbags. Her ears rang. Her head throbbed. But she was alive. Kang Jun was already moving, shoving his airbag aside and kicking open the mangled door. He pulled Elena out after him. They'd made it through the gate. Barely. The SUV's front end was destroyed, steam hissing from the crumpled hood. The guard slumped over the wheel, blood running down his face. "Hey!" Kang Jun grabbed the guard's shoulder. "Stay with me." The guard's eyes fluttered open. "I'm good. Go." "Can you walk?" "Go!" Kang Jun hesitated for half a second. Then he grabbed Elena's hand and ran. They were outside now. Galveston coast stretched before them. Dark water, darker sky. Wind whipped off the ocean, carrying salt and cold. Behind them, men shouted, more vehicles starting, pursuit reorganizing. Kang Jun pulled Elena toward the beach. Sand grabbed at her shoes. She kicked them off and kept running, her feet sinking with every step. "There!" Kang Jun pointed. A small boat sat moored at a private dock, maybe 20 feet long, covered in canvas tarp. Kang Jun tore the tarp off and jumped aboard. He held his hand out to Elena. She grabbed it, and he hauled her in. The boat rocked violently. Elena stumbled into the captain's chair. Kang Jun was already at the controls, his hands moving with practiced efficiency. The engine coughed once, twice, died. "Come on!" Kang Jun growled, trying again. Gunfire erupted from the beach. Bullets punched through the boat's hull. Water began seeping in through the holes. "Kang Jun!" I know. He tried the engine again. This time it caught. The boat lurched forward, pulling away from the dock just as armed men reached the waterline. They fired, sustained bursts that chewed through the boat's stern, but the distance was growing. Kang Jun opened the throttle. The boat's nose lifted. They skipped across dark water, spray soaking them both. Elena looked back. The safe house burned against the night sky, orange flames climbing into black smoke. Men swarmed the beach like ants, but they were falling behind. She turned forward and saw Kang Jun's face in the dim glow of the instrument panel. Blood ran from a cut above his eye. His knuckles were split and raw. His shirt hung in tatters. But he was smiling, not happy, not relieved, feral. "Where are we going?" Elena shouted over the wind and engine. "Anywhere but here. That's not a plan. It's all I've got." Water sloshed around their ankles. The boat was taking on more through the bullet holes. They had maybe 20 minutes before it sank. Kang Jun steered them parallel to the coast, staying far enough out that they couldn't be reached from shore. The burning safe house disappeared behind them. Elena's hands wouldn't stop shaking. The adrenaline was fading, leaving her cold and nauseous. "They're going to keep coming," she said. "I know. You can't fight an entire organization. I've done worse." "When?" Kang Jun glanced at her. "You really want to know?" "Yes." He turned back to the water. 6 years ago, a rival faction tried to take over our Houston operations. They killed 3 of my men, ambushed them at a meet, left their bodies in the street as a message. Elena's stomach turned. "What did you do?" "I found every single person involved, 27 men. Took me 3 months, and then I made them disappear. Not quick, not clean. I wanted them to know what happens when you touch what's mine." "Jesus Christ. You asked." Elena pressed her hands to her face. "I don't know how you live with that." "I don't. I just keep moving forward and try not to think about it." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." The boat's engine coughed, sputtered. Kang Jun cursed and adjusted something Elena couldn't see. The engine steadied but sounded weaker. "How long until we sink?" Elena asked. 15 minutes, maybe less." "And then what?" "We swim." "To where?" "There." Kang Jun pointed. Elena followed his gaze. Ahead, barely visible against the dark coastline, a series of lights glowed. A marina, small, private, the kind of place that didn't ask questions if you had cash. "Can we make it?" Elena asked. "We have to." The boat limped forward, engine groaning, water rising past their ankles now. Elena could feel the vessel settling lower, the weight of the ocean pulling them down. They were 100 yards from the marina when the engine died completely. The sudden silence was deafening. The boat drifted, momentum carrying them forward but not fast enough. Water poured in faster now, through the bullet holes. "We're not going to make it," Elena said. Kang Jun looked at the distance, the water rising. Then he made a decision. "Get ready to swim." "I can barely swim." "You're about to learn fast." He grabbed her hand and jumped. The cold water hit like a fist. Elena gasped, swallowed salt, went under. Panic clawed at her chest. She kicked wildly, broke the surface, gasped again. Kang Jun's arm wrapped around her waist. "I've got you," he said. "Just kick. Don't fight the water." They swam. Elena kicked mechanically, her lungs burning, her muscles screaming. Kang Jun pulled her forward, his strokes powerful and steady despite everything he'd been through. The marina grew closer, 50 yards, 40, 30. Elena's legs gave out. "I can't." "Yes, you can. Stay with me." "I can't." Kang Jun stopped swimming and turned her to face him, treading water. "Listen to me. You are not dying in this fucking ocean. You're going to kick your legs and we're going to reach that dock and then we're going to figure out what comes next. You understand?" Elena nodded, too exhausted to speak. "Good. Now move." They swam, 20 yards, 10. Elena's hand hit wood. The dock. She grabbed on and held tight, her entire body shaking from cold and exhaustion. Kang Jun hauled himself up first, then reached down and pulled Elena out of the water. She collapsed on the dock, coughing up salt water, her vision swimming. Above them, footsteps. Someone running. Elena tried to move, but her body wouldn't respond. Kang Jun stood, putting himself between Elena and whoever was coming. A figure appeared at the end of the dock, older, Korean, wearing a fisherman's jacket and holding a flashlight. He looked at Kang Jun. Recognition flickered across his face. "Seosi," the man said quietly. Kang Jun bowed his head slightly. "Sungbae Hyung, I need your help." The older man's gaze moved to Elena, still gasping on the dock, then back to Kang Jun. "They're looking for you," Sungbae said. "I know. There's a price on your head. A big one." "I know that too." Sungbae studied him for a long moment. Then he sighed. "You look like shit," he said. "I feel worse." "The girl. She's the one they're after?" "They're after both of us." "She must be something special for you to burn everything down." Kang Jun glanced back at Elena. "She is." Sungbae nodded slowly. "Come on, before someone sees you." He turned and walked back down the dock. Kang Jun helped Elena to her feet. She leaned heavily against him, her legs barely supporting her weight. They followed Sungbae to a small building at the edge of the marina, part workshop, part living quarters. Inside it smelled like diesel fuel and old wood. Sungbae locked the door behind them and pulled heavy curtains across the windows. "Sit," he ordered, gesturing to a worn couch. Elena collapsed onto it. Kang Jun sat beside her, close enough that their legs touched. Sungbae disappeared into another room and returned with blankets and 2 bottles of water. He tossed them over. "Drink, then tell me what happened." Kang Jun drained half the bottle in one pull. Then he spoke. He told Sungbae about the board, the coup, the attack on the safe house. He kept his voice flat, emotionless, but Elena heard the exhaustion beneath it. Sungbae listened without interrupting. When Kang Jun finished, the older man poured himself a glass of something dark and strong from a bottle on the shelf. "They'll find you eventually," Sungbae said. "You know that. How long do we have? A day? Maybe 2 if you're lucky. I need to get her somewhere safe." "Safe doesn't exist anymore, not for you." Kang Jun's jaw tightened. "Then I'll create it." "How? You've got no resources, no men. The entire organization wants you dead. What are you going to do? Hide forever?" "If I have to." Sungbae shook his head. "You're smarter than this, Junah. You know hiding isn't a solution. It's just a slower death. Then what do you suggest?" "Fight back, properly. I'm one man against an entire syndicate. You're one man with nothing left to lose. That makes you the most dangerous person in the room." Kang Jun leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying stop running, stop reacting, go on the offensive. They'll kill her. They'll kill her anyway if you don't stop them first." The words landed heavy. Elena spoke for the first time since they'd entered the building. "He's right," she said quietly. Kang Jun turned to look at her. "Elena?" "He's right, Kang Jun. We can't run forever, and I'm tired of being afraid." "This isn't your fight." "Yes, it is. They made it my fight when they decided I was a liability." "You don't understand what you're asking." "I understand perfectly. You're asking me to trust you to keep me safe while you fight an entire criminal organization alone. That's insane. So either we fight together or we die together. But I'm not hiding while you burn yourself out trying to protect me." Kang Jun stared at her. Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. "You have no idea what this will cost," he said. "Then tell me." "Blood. Violence. Probably our lives." "Okay? Okay? I chose you, Kang Jun, all the way. That means I don't get to pick and choose which parts I'm willing to face." Kang Jun's throat worked. Then he reached over and took her hand. "You're either the bravest person I've ever met," he said quietly, "or the most insane." "Probably both." Sungbae watched them with an unreadable expression. Then he set his glass down. "You'll need weapons," he said. "I can get you some. And I know a place you can use as a base. Off the grid. Remote." "Why are you helping me?" Kang Jun asked. "Because you pulled my son out of that warehouse fire in Busan 5 years ago. You could have left him. You didn't. I don't forget debts." Kang Jun nodded. "Thank you, Hyung." "Don't thank me yet. You're about to start a war you might not survive." "I know." "And her?" Sungbae gestured to Elena. "You really think she can handle what's coming?" Kang Jun looked at Elena. She met his gaze and didn't flinch. "Yes," he said. "I do." Sungbae stood. Then get some sleep. You've got 2 hours before I move you. After that, you're on your own. He left the room, closing the door behind him. Elena and Kang Jun sat in silence for a long moment. Then Elena spoke. "Tell me the plan," she said. "The plan is to survive." "That's not a plan. That's a prayer." Kang Jun almost smiled. "Fair point. So what's the real plan?" He exhaled slowly. "We find the board members, one by one, and we make them regret what they did." "You mean kill them?" "I mean remove the threat permanently, however necessary." "How many?" 7. "And you think the two of us can take down 7 experienced criminals who have resources, men, and every advantage?" "No." Kang Jun's eyes hardened. "I think I can. You just need to stay alive long enough for me to finish." "Absolutely not." "Elena, no. We do this together or not at all." "You don't know how to fight. Then teach me." "There's no time. Make time." Kang Jun stared at her. Then he stood and crossed to a cabinet against the wall. He opened it and pulled out a knife, simple, black handle, 6-inch blade. He walked back and held it out to her. "Hold it like this," he said, demonstrating. "Blade down. Tight grip. If someone gets close enough that you need to use this, you go for soft tissue. Throat, eyes, gut. Anywhere that bleeds easily." Elena took the knife. It felt wrong in her hand, foreign, but she gripped it the way he showed her. "Don't hesitate," Kang Jun continued. "Hesitation gets you killed. You commit to the strike, or you don't strike at all." "What if I freeze?" "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because I've seen you face down men with guns and you didn't run. You're stronger than you think, Elena. You just need to trust yourself." Elena looked at the knife, then at Kang Jun. "Show me," she said. For the next hour, Kang Jun taught her the basics: how to hold the knife, how to move, where to strike. He was patient but firm, correcting her grip, adjusting her stance. By the end, Elena's hands were cramping and her shirt was soaked with sweat, but she felt different, less helpless, less like a victim waiting to happen. "Good," Kang Jun said finally. "Keep the knife on you, always." Elena nodded and tucked it into her waistband. Kang Jun sat beside her on the couch. They were both exhausted, running on adrenaline and determination and nothing else. "Are you scared?" Elena asked. "Terrified." "You don't look it." "Years of practice." Elena leaned against him. His arm came around her shoulders automatically. "What happens if we lose?" she whispered. "We don't." "But if we do, then we go down knowing we fought. That's more than most people get." Elena closed her eyes. "I don't want to die." "You're not going to. You can't promise that. Watch me." Outside, the wind howled off the ocean. Inside, wrapped in Kang Jun's arms, Elena tried to believe him, tried to believe they had a chance, tried to believe this wasn't just a different kind of death sentence. "Oh," Sungbei woke them 2 hours later. "Time to move," he said. They followed him out to a battered pickup truck. The bed was covered with a tarp, hiding weapons and supplies underneath. "The address is programmed into the GPS," Sungbei said, handing Kang Jun the keys. "Cabin about 3 hours north. No one knows about it except me and my son. You'll be safe there. For a while." "Thank you," Kang Jun said. Sungbei gripped his shoulder. "Don't make me regret this." "I won't." "And Juna?" The older man's expression turned serious. "Whatever you're planning, be smart. The board has resources you don't. They'll be expecting you to retaliate. Let them expect it. Pride gets you killed. So does mercy." Sungbei shook his head but didn't argue. He stepped back as Kang Jun and Elena climbed into the truck. The engine turned over. Kang Jun pulled out of the marina and onto a dark coastal road. Elena watched the marina disappear in the side mirror. Then she turned forward, staring at the empty highway stretching ahead of them. "What's the first step?" she asked. Kang Jun's hands tightened on the wheel. "We find Min Jae Park." "Who's that?" "The youngest board member, late 30s, runs the gambling operations out of Austin. He'll be the easiest to get to." "And then?" "Then we make him tell us where the others are hiding." "And if he won't talk?" Kang Jun glanced at her. His eyes were cold, dead. "He'll talk," he said. Elena believed him. They drove through the night, the truck's headlights cutting through darkness. Elena kept the knife tucked against her side. Kang Jun kept a pistol on the seat between them. Neither of them spoke about what they were driving toward. They didn't need to. Both of them knew this was the beginning of something they couldn't take back. A line crossed, a war declared, and somewhere ahead, in a city that didn't know what was coming, 7 men who'd ordered their deaths were about to learn what happened when you tried to kill Seo Kang Jun, and failed. Of course. The cabin sat at the end of a dirt road, hidden deep in pine forest. Small, isolated, perfect. Kang Jun parked behind the building, out of sight from the road. They unloaded the supplies, weapons, ammunition, food, water. Enough to last a week if they rationed carefully. Inside, the cabin was Spartan. 1 room, wood stove, no electricity, no running water except a hand pump outside. But it was defensible. And right now, that was all that mattered. Kang Jun checked the windows while Elena unpacked the weapons. Rifles, handguns, knives. Enough firepower to start a small war, which was exactly what they were about to do. We rest tonight, Kang Jun said. Tomorrow we start planning. Elena nodded. She was too tired to argue. They ate cold rations from the supplies Sungbai had packed. Neither of them tasted the food. When Elena finally lay down on the narrow cot in the corner, exhaustion crashed over her like a wave. Her eyes closed before her head hit the rolled-up jacket she was using as a pillow. She didn't dream. But when she woke hours later, dawn light filtering through the cabin's single window, Kang Jun was already awake. He sat at the small table, a map spread in front of him, marking locations with a red pen. 7 marks, 7 targets. Elena stood and walked to the table. She looked down at the map, at the marks, at Kang Jun's scarred hands holding the pen. "When do we start?" she asked. Kang Jun looked up at her. Something fierce and proud flickered in his eyes. "Today," he said. And Elena Hart, the girl who'd spent 10 years running from her past, hiding from conflict, making herself small and invisible, felt something shift inside her chest. Fear was still there, but beneath it, burning hotter, was rage. These people had tried to kill her, had tried to take away the first person in years who'd made her feel like she mattered. And they were going to pay for it. She picked up the knife from the table. Kang Jun handed her a shoulder holster with a compact pistol. "You remember what I taught you?" he asked. "Yes." "Good, because there's no going back after this." Elena strapped on the holster, checked the pistol, slid the knife into her boot. Then she looked at Kang Jun and said the words that would change everything. "Then let's make sure they regret ever coming after us." Kang Jun smiled, predatory, dangerous, proud. "That's my girl," he said. And together they walked out of the cabin and into the war they'd been forced to fight. The sun rose over the forest, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold. And somewhere in Austin, Min-jae Park had no idea that death was coming for him. But it was, and it wore Elena Hart's face. Min-jae Park liked to think of himself as untouchable. He owned 3 casinos in Austin, controlled the gambling pipeline from Dallas to San Antonio, and lived in a penthouse that cost more than most people made in a lifetime. When the board voted to eliminate Kang Jun, Min-jae had been the first to raise his hand. Not because he hated Kang Jun, but because eliminating competition was good business. Now, standing in his bathroom at 3 in the morning, staring at his reflection in the mirror, Min-jae wondered if that vote had been a mistake. The lights went out. Min-jae froze. His penthouse had backup generators, state-of-the-art security, panic rooms. The power didn't just cut, unless someone wanted it to. He reached for the pistol he kept in the drawer beside the sink. His fingers had just closed around the grip when a voice spoke from the darkness behind him. "I wouldn't." Min-jae spun. Kang Jun stood in the bathroom doorway, barely visible in the dim light filtering through the window. He held a suppressed pistol aimed directly at Min-jae's chest. "Jun," Min-jae said, forcing his voice to stay calm. "We can talk about this." "I'm done talking." "The board made a decision. It wasn't personal. You voted to kill me. That's personal." Min-jae's mind raced. His security detail was 4 floors down. The panic button was across the room. He was trapped. "What do you want?" Min-jae asked. "Information." "About what?" "The other board members. Where they're hiding. Min-jae laughed nervously. You think I'm going to give them up? Yes. Why would I? Kang-jun moved so fast Min-jae didn't see it coming. One moment he was across the room. The next his hand was wrapped around Min-jae's throat, slamming him against the marble wall. Because if you don't, Kang-jun said quietly, I'm going to start breaking bones. And I'm going to take my time. Min-jae clawed at Kang-jun's arm. You're fucking crazy. I'm motivated. There's a difference. Kang-jun released him. Min-jae gasped, sliding down the wall. Here's how this works, Kang-jun continued. You tell me what I want to know. I let you live. You call the others and warn them, and I come back and finish what I started. Simple. Min-jae's hand crept toward his pocket where he kept a backup knife. I see you reaching, a woman's voice said from the doorway. Min-jae's head snapped up. Elena Hart stood beside Kang-jun, holding a pistol with both hands. Her stance was awkward, unpracticed, but her eyes were steady. The girl? Min-jae gasped. You brought the fucking civilian? She's not a civilian anymore, Kang-jun said. Now talk. Where are they? Min-jae weighed his options. His security would eventually check on him, but eventually might be too late. Seoul, he said finally. Most of them fled to Seoul. They're regrouping with Sung-ho. Who stayed? Just one. Lee Sang-wook. He's in Houston. Thinks you won't hit him on your home turf. Kang-jun's expression darkened. Where in Houston? The warehouse district, near the ship channel. He's got 20 men with him. Address? Min-jae rattled it off. Kang-jun stepped back. Good. See? That wasn't hard. You said you'd let me live. I did. Kang-jun turned and walked out of the bathroom. Elena followed, her gun still trained on Min-jae. At the doorway, she paused. You voted to kill me, she said quietly. Someone you'd never met. Someone who never did anything to you, just because I was inconvenient. Min-jae said nothing. I want you to think about that, Elena continued. Every day, for the rest of your life. I want you to remember that you were willing to murder an innocent person because your organization told you to. And I want you to know that you're only breathing right now because we chose mercy. Then she disappeared into the darkness. Min-jae sat against the wall for a full minute before he could move. When he finally stood, his legs shaking, the lights came back on. His penthouse was empty. But on the bathroom mirror, written in red lipstick, were 3 words. Don't call them. Min-jae stared at the message. Then he grabbed his phone and started packing. Elena's hand shook as she climbed into the truck. Kang-jun slid behind the wheel and started the engine. They pulled away from the penthouse, merging into Austin's pre-dawn traffic. You okay? Kang-jun asked. I held a gun on someone. You did? I threatened him. Technically, you told him the truth. That's different. Elena's laugh came out broken. How are you so calm about this? Practice. That's not reassuring. Kang-jun reached over and took her hand. You were perfect back there. I was terrified. I know, but you didn't show it. That's what matters. Elena stared out the window. Dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Somewhere behind them, Min-jae Park was probably calling his lawyers or fleeing the country. But he wasn't calling the other board members, because Elena had seen it in his eyes. The fear. The realization that Kang-jun wasn't bluffing, and neither was she. 1 down, Elena said quietly. 6 to go. You really think we can do this? Kang-jun's grip on her hand tightened. We just did. Market tickets. Lee Sang-wook's warehouse sat at the edge of Houston's industrial district, surrounded by rusted shipping containers and abandoned buildings. The perfect place to hide an army. Kang-jun and Elena watched from across the street, hidden behind a stack of pallets. The sun had set an hour ago, leaving the area bathed in sodium light and deep shadows. 20 men, Elena whispered. How do we get past 20 men? We don't. We go through them. That's insane. It's direct. It's suicide. Kang-jun pulled out a small black device, about the size of a cell phone. Sung-bae gave me this. Remote explosive. Military grade. We plant it on the east side, detonate it, and when they rush to investigate, we go in the west entrance. And if they don't all rush, then we improvise. Elena wanted to argue, wanted to point out the 1,000 ways this could go wrong. But what was the alternative? Walk away? Let these men keep hunting them forever? Okay, she said. What do you need me to do? Kang Jun looked at her, really looked at her. Stay here. Cover the exit. Anyone who runs, you stop them. Stop them how? However you have to. He handed her a rifle, compact, with a scope. Elena took it, feeling the weight settle in her hands. I've never shot anyone, she said. You don't have to kill them. Just make them think twice about running. And if they don't think twice, Kang Jun's expression hardened. Then you do what needs to be done. He kissed her forehead. Then he was gone, moving through shadows like he'd been born in them. Elena positioned herself behind the pallets, the rifle resting on top. Through the scope, she could see the warehouse's west entrance. Guards smoking cigarettes, laughing about something. They had no idea what was coming. 5 minutes later, the east side of the warehouse exploded. The blast lit up the night sky. Orange flame and black smoke. The guards at the west entrance ran toward it, shouting into radios. Kang Jun appeared at the west entrance like a ghost. Elena watched through the scope as he moved. One guard went down silently, a knife through his ribs. Another collapsed as Kang Jun snapped his neck. No wasted movement, no hesitation. This was Kang Jun at his most dangerous. And Elena realized she was watching the man she loved kill people. Her stomach turned, but she didn't look away. Gunfire erupted inside the warehouse. Short, controlled bursts, return fire, screaming, then silence. Elena's finger hovered over the trigger, her scope trained on the entrance. 2 men burst out, running toward a black sedan parked nearby. Stop! Elena shouted. They didn't stop. She fired. The shot went wide, sparking off the pavement beside them. The men dove behind the car. Elena's hand shook. She'd missed, completely missed. One of the men leaned around the car and fired back. Bullets tore through the pallets above Elena's head. She dropped, pressing herself flat against the ground. Her radio crackled. Kang Jun's voice. Elena, talk to me. 2 men, east side. They're shooting at me. Can you move? Not without getting shot. Stay down. I'm coming. The radio went silent. More gunfire from the sedan. Elena crawled backward, trying to put more distance between herself and the shooters. Then she heard it, the sedan's engine starting. They were going to run. Elena rolled onto her stomach, raised the rifle, and looked through the scope. The sedan was backing up, tires squealing. She aimed for the rear tire, breathed out slowly, and pulled the trigger. The tire exploded. The sedan swerved, crashed into a shipping container, and stopped. Both doors opened. The men stumbled out. Kang Jun appeared behind them. 2 shots, clean, efficient. Both men dropped. Kang Jun looked across the street toward Elena. Even at this distance, she could see the blood on his face, his shirt, his hands. He gave her a small nod. Then he turned and walked back into the warehouse. Elena stayed behind the pallets, her entire body shaking. She'd helped kill 2 men tonight, not directly, but close enough. And the worst part? She didn't feel as guilty as she thought she should. Matan. Kang Jun found Lee Sang-wook in the warehouse's office, barricaded behind an overturned desk. It's over, Kang Jun said. Your men are dead. Sang-wook's voice came from behind the desk, high and panicked. You can't do this. I already did. The organization will hunt you forever. Let them try. Kang Jun stepped around the desk. Sang-wook sat with his back against the wall, a pistol in his trembling hands. He was older than Min-jae. Early 50s, gray hair, expensive suit, now covered in dust and plaster. I'll give you anything, Sang-wook said. Money, territory, whatever you want. I don't want territory. I want out. Then go. Leave. We'll pretend this never happened. Kang Jun crouched down, meeting Sang-wook's eyes. You voted to kill her, an innocent woman who had nothing to do with any of this. That was business. No, that was cowardice. You killed people to protect your comfort, and now you're begging for mercy you never showed anyone else. Sang-wook raised the pistol. His hand shook so badly the barrel wavered. Don't, he whispered. Kang Jun didn't move. Pull the trigger or put it down. I'll do it. No, you won't. Because you're not a killer, Sang-wook. You're an administrator. You order deaths from a distance. But you've never had to look someone in the eye and do it yourself. Tears ran down Sang-wook's face. Please? Kang Jun stood. I'm not going to kill you. Sang-wook's expression flickered with hope. But you're going to do something for me, Kang Jun continued. You're going to call the board in Seoul, every single member. And you're going to tell them that I'm coming for them, that I've already killed 20 of their best men in one night, that I won't stop until every person who voted to kill Elena is in the ground. They'll kill me. Probably. But you'll be alive long enough to deliver the message. Kang Jun pulled out his phone and tossed it to Sang-wook. Call them, now. Sang-wook's hands shook as he dialed. The phone rang twice before someone answered. It's Sang-wook, he said, his voice breaking. Kang Jun, he's here. He killed everyone. He's coming for you. Kang Jun grabbed the phone and ended the call. Good, he said. Now run. Sang-wook scrambled to his feet and bolted for the door. Kang Jun watched him go. Then he pulled out a lighter, flicked it open, and dropped it onto a pile of papers soaked in gasoline. The warehouse caught fast. By the time Kang Jun walked out, flames were climbing the walls, consuming everything. Elena was waiting by the truck, her face pale in the firelight. Is it done? She asked. 2 down, 5 to go. And the rest? Kang Jun looked at the burning warehouse. They know we're coming now. Good. He turned to her, surprise flickering across his face. Good? I'm tired of running, Kang Jun. I'm tired of being afraid. If they want a war, let's give them one they'll never forget. Kang Jun pulled her close and kissed her hard. When they broke apart, he was smiling. You're terrifying, he said. I learned from the best. They climbed into the truck and drove away as the warehouse collapsed behind them, sending sparks spiraling into the night sky. The next 3 weeks were a blur of violence and motion. Kang Jun and Elena moved through Texas like ghosts. They hit the board members who'd stayed behind, quick strikes, no witnesses, maximum impact. Elena stopped counting bodies after the first week. She learned to shoot, to fight, to move through darkness without making a sound. Kang Jun taught her everything he knew, and she absorbed it like her life depended on it. Because it did. By the end of the 3rd week, 5 board members were dead. 2 remained in Seoul, and Kang Jun was planning their flight when Elena made a decision. I'm not going, she said. They were in a motel outside Dallas, cheap, anonymous, the kind of place that didn't ask questions. Kang Jun looked up from the laptop where he was booking tickets. What? To Seoul. I'm not going. Elena? This needs to end, Kang Jun, not in another country. Here, now. The last 2 members are in Seoul. Then make them come to us. Kang Jun stared at her. How? Elena pulled out her phone. By giving them something they can't resist. She opened her social media, account she hadn't touched in weeks, and started typing. Kang Jun read over her shoulder. I'm done hiding. If you want to finish this, you know where to find me. Valentine's Day, the mountain cabin where this started. Just us. No armies, no games. Let's end this. She hit post. Kang Jun grabbed her wrist. Are you insane? Probably. This is a trap. I know. They'll bring everyone. Good. Then we know exactly where they'll be. Kang Jun released her wrist, his mind racing. The cabin's defensible, remote, but we'd be outnumbered. We've been outnumbered this whole time. This is different. This is the end game. If we lose, then we lose together. Kang Jun looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Okay, he said. We do it your way. You're sure? No, but I trust you. Elena kissed him. Then let's finish this. Pasik. Valentine's Day arrived cold and bright. The mountain cabin looked exactly as Elena remembered. Wood and glass and snow, isolated and beautiful. But now she saw it differently. Not as a place of humiliation, as a battlefield. Kang Jun had spent the previous week fortifying it, reinforced doors, boarded windows, ammunition stockpiled in every room, escape routes mapped and tested. They were as ready as they'd ever be. Elena stood on the cabin's porch, watching the forest. Her breath misted in the cold air. The knife Kang Jun had given her sat in her boot. The pistol rested in a shoulder holster beneath her jacket. Behind her, the door opened. Kang Jun stepped out, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. He handed her one. "They'll be here soon," he said. "I know. You can still change your mind. So can you. I'm not the one who posted a public challenge on Instagram." Elena almost smiled. Fair point. They stood in silence, drinking coffee, watching the sunrise paint the snow gold and pink. "If we survive this," Elena said quietly, "what happens after? What do you want to happen?" "I want to disappear, somewhere warm, somewhere no one knows our names." "That sounds nice." "You'd really walk away? From all of it?" Kang Jun looked at her. "I already did. The moment I chose you." Elena's throat tightened. "I love you." "I know." "Say it back." "I love you, Elena Hart. More than I've loved anything in my entire life." She kissed him. Soft. Lingering. Like it might be the last time. When they broke apart, the sound of engines echoed through the forest. They were here. Kang Jun and Elena moved inside. He locked the door. She took position at the window. 3 black SUVs rolled up the driveway and stopped in a semicircle facing the cabin. Doors opened. Men climbed out. At least 15 of them, armed, professional. And from the center vehicle, Sung Ho emerged. He walked toward the cabin slowly, hands clasped behind his back, completely unarmed. Kang Jun opened a window just enough to speak through. "That's close enough," he called out. Sung Ho stopped 20 feet from the porch. "Juna, this has gone on long enough." "I agree. That's why it ends today. You've killed 5 board members, destroyed millions in assets, made yourself an enemy of every organization from here to Seoul, and I'll keep going until you're all dead." Sung Ho smiled. Brave words from a man trapped in a cabin. "I'm not trapped. I'm exactly where I want to be." "With her?" Sung Ho's gaze shifted to the window where Elena stood. "The American girl who's turned you into this. A traitor. A murderer of your own people. They stopped being my people when they voted to kill an innocent woman. She's not innocent anymore. Look at her. You've made her into a killer. Congratulations, Juna. You've destroyed the thing you were trying to protect." Elena stepped into view. "He didn't destroy me. He saved me." Sung Ho laughed. "Saved you? From what? A boring life? A normal existence? Look around, girl. You're trapped in a cabin surrounded by men who want you dead. This is salvation? Better than being invisible," Elena shot back. "Better than spending my whole life afraid. At least now I know what I'm worth." "And what's that?" "Everything." Sung Ho's smile faded. "You're a liability, nothing more." "Then why are you here?" Elena stepped closer to the window. "If I'm just some liability, why bring 15 men? Why risk yourself? Because deep down, you know exactly what I am. Which is? The reason Kang Jun will never come back to you. The reason your entire organization is falling apart. The reason you lost." Sung Ho's expression turned cold. "I haven't lost anything." "Haven't you? 5 board members dead. Your best men scattered. Your operations in chaos. All because you couldn't accept that someone wanted out." "No one gets out." "He did, and you can't stand it." Sung Ho's hands clenched into fists. "I gave him everything. Purpose, power, family, and he threw it away for you." "Good," Elena said, "because I'll give him something you never could, a life worth living." Sung Ho turned to his men. "Burn it down. Everyone inside dies." The men raised their weapons. Kang Jun pulled Elena away from the window. Gunfire erupted. Bullets tore through the cabin's walls. Glass shattered. Wood splintered. Elena and Kang Jun hit the floor, crawling toward the back room where they'd stockpiled ammunition. "The plan?" Elena shouted over the gunfire. "Survive long enough to execute it." "What plan?" Kang Jun grabbed a detonator from his jacket. "The one where we blow up everyone outside." He'd rigged explosives beneath the SUVs, hidden charges placed during his reconnaissance the night before. He pressed the button. The world exploded. The blast wave shattered the remaining windows. Fire bloomed outside, consuming the SUVs and the men standing near them. Screams cut through the chaos. Kang Jun grabbed Elena's hand. Move! They ran for the back door, bursting out into snow and smoke. Behind them, the cabin was collapsing, flames eating through the structure. Ahead, the forest stretched endlessly. They ran. Gunfire chased them. Survivors from the blast, disoriented but determined. Elena's lungs burned, her legs screamed, but she kept moving, Kang Jun pulling her forward. They made it 50 yards before a voice stopped them. Juna! Sung Ho stood in a clearing ahead, blood running down his face, his coat scorched and smoking, but he was alive, and he held a pistol. Kang Jun pushed Elena behind him. It's over, Sung Ho, he said. Your men are dead. Your organization is finished. Walk away. Walk away? Sung Ho laughed bitterly. To what? You've taken everything from me. You did this to yourself. No, you did this. You and her. Sung Ho raised the pistol, aiming at Elena. She's the poison, and I'm going to cut her out. Kang Jun moved, but not fast enough. The gunshot cracked through the forest. Elena felt the impact before the pain, a sledgehammer blow to her side that sent her stumbling backward. She hit the snow and couldn't breathe. Kang Jun's scream tore through the air. He tackled Sung Ho, and they went down together in a tangle of limbs and fury. Fists flew, blood sprayed across white snow. Elena pressed her hand to her side. It came away red. She'd been shot. The pain hit then, white-hot and consuming. She gasped, hurling into herself. Across the clearing, Kang Jun had Sung Ho pinned. His hands were around the older man's throat, squeezing, until Sung Ho's struggles weakened, stopped. Kang Jun released him and scrambled toward Elena. No, he gasped, pressing his hands over the wound. Stay with me. Elena, stay with me. Hurts, she managed. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Not your fault? Yes, it is. All of it. I brought you into this. I made you a target. Elena's hand found his face. You made me feel alive. Don't talk like that. You're going to be fine. Kang Jun, you're going to be fine. Elena smiled through the pain. Liar. Kang Jun pulled out his phone, dialing emergency services with shaking hands. I've got a GSW victim. Mountain cabin off Route 47. Female, mid-20s, abdominal wound. He gave them the coordinates. The operator said 20 minutes. 20 minutes Elena might not have. Kang Jun stripped off his jacket and pressed it against the wound. Blood soaked through immediately. Talk to me, he said. Stay awake. Keep talking. About what? Anything. Your childhood, your favorite food, anything. Elena's vision swam. Remember, the first night, coffee shop. I remember. You knew, didn't you? Knew what? That I'd fall for you. Kang Jun's hands shook. No, I hoped, but I didn't know. I loved you from the beginning. Don't say goodbye. Not goodbye. Just in case. Elena, please. Her eyes closed. No, Elena, look at me. She forced them open. Kang Jun's face swam above her, tears cutting tracks through the blood on his cheeks. That's it. Stay with me. Help is coming. Just a few more minutes. Elena's hand found his. If I don't make it, you will. Listen. She coughed, tasting copper. Live, Kang Jun. Don't go back to that life. Promise me. I promise. But you have to promise me something too. What? You fight. You don't give up. You stay here with me. Elena's grip on his hand weakened. Try harder. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. Kang Jun held her, pressing his forehead against hers. Come on, baby, come on. Stay with me, please. I can't lose you. Not now. Not after everything. Elena's breath came in shallow gasps. The world was fading, going gray at the edges. But Kang Jun's voice cut through the darkness, anchoring her, keeping her tethered to life when everything in her wanted to let go. I've got you, he whispered. I've got you. You're safe. You're going to be okay. Just hold on. Please. Hold on. So she did. She held on with everything she had left. And when the paramedics arrived, when they loaded her onto a stretcher and rushed her toward the waiting helicopter, Kang Jun never let go of her hand. Not once. Book. 3 months later. Elena woke to sunlight streaming through sheer curtains and the sound of waves crashing against shore. She lay still for a moment, letting consciousness settle. Her hand moved automatically to her side, tracing the scar beneath her shirt. The doctors had said she was lucky. An inch to the left and the bullet would have hit something vital. Lucky. Elena wasn't sure she believed in luck anymore, but she believed in survival. She sat up slowly. The bedroom was small, simple, filled with white furniture and blue accents. Through the open window, she could see the ocean stretching endlessly toward the horizon. Mexico. A tiny coastal town where nobody asked questions and American money spent easily. Footsteps on the stairs. Kang Jun appeared in the doorway, carrying a tray with coffee and fresh fruit. He wore board shorts and a plain white t-shirt, his tattoos visible along his arms. He looked different here. Younger, lighter, like the weight he'd carried for years had finally lifted. "You're supposed to be resting," he said, setting the tray on the bedside table. "I've been resting for 3 months. Doctor said 6. Doctor can kiss my ass." Kang Jun smiled and sat on the edge of the bed. "How are you feeling?" "Restless?" "That's new. I'm tired of being still." "What do you want to do?" Elena looked out the window at the ocean. "Walk on the beach. Feel sand between my toes. Pretend we're normal people with normal lives." "We are normal people. We killed 9 people, Kang Jun. They tried to kill us first. That's self-defense." "That's a very generous interpretation." He leaned over and kissed her forehead. "Come on, let's go walk." They made their way down to the beach slowly. Elena's stamina was returning, but she still tired easily. Kang Jun kept pace beside her, his hand ready to steady her if she stumbled. The sand was warm beneath her bare feet. The water was impossibly blue. A few local kids played in the surf, their laughter carrying on the wind. "Do you miss it?" Elena asked. "Miss what?" "Your old life? The power, the respect." Kang Jun was quiet for a long moment. "Sometimes. But then I look at you and I remember what that life cost me, what it almost cost us, and I don't miss it anymore." "What about the organization?" "Collapsed 6 weeks after we left. Infighting, turf wars, everything I predicted would happen." "Do you feel guilty?" "No. They made their choices. I made mine." They walked in silence for a while, waves lapping at their ankles. "I got a letter yesterday," Elena said. "From Ryan." Kang Jun stopped walking. "Ryan Mercer?" "Yeah, he tracked me down somehow. Wanted to apologize. Again. Said he's been in therapy, working on himself. Realized what he did to me in high school was unforgivable." "What did you do with the letter?" "Burned it." "Good. I don't need his apology anymore. I don't need closure from him. I've moved on." Kang Jun pulled her close. "I'm proud of you." "For what?" "For becoming the person you were always meant to be. Strong, fearless, alive." Elena rested her head against his chest. "I'm not fearless. You faced down armed killers. You survived a gunshot wound. You helped take down an entire criminal organization. If that's not fearless, I don't know what is." "I was terrified the entire time. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do it anyway." They stood together as the sun climbed higher, warming their skin. "What happens now?" Elena asked. "Whatever we want." "That's terrifyingly open-ended." "I know, but it's also freedom. Real freedom. For the first time in my life, I'm not answering to anyone. I'm not following orders. I'm just here, with you, living." Elena looked up at him. "No regrets?" "Only one." "What's that?" "I didn't meet you sooner." She smiled. "That's corny." "It's true." "Still corny." He kissed her, soft, lingering, tasting of salt and coffee and new beginnings. When they broke apart, Elena noticed something glinting in Kang Jun's hand. A key, small, silver, attached to a keychain in the shape of a heart. "What's that?" she asked. "Key to the house, officially. I had copies made, one for you, one for me." Elena took the key, turning it over in her palm. "We own a house?" "I bought it last week, paid cash. It's in both our names. Both our names. Elena Hart and Junso. Legal, permanent. Her throat tightened. You're serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Elena's breath stopped. I'm not asking you to marry me, Kangjun said. Not yet, because marriage means records, documentation, and we're still ghosts, we're still hiding. Then what? He opened the box. Inside sat a white gold necklace with a single diamond pendant. I'm asking you to stay, he said, permanently. No more running, no more hiding, just us, here, building something real. Elena's eyes burned. Kangjun, you made me want to live again, Elena. Not just survive. Live. And I want to spend every day I have left showing you what that means. She couldn't speak, could barely breathe. Kangjun lifted the necklace from the box and stepped behind her. His hands were steady as he fastened it around her neck. The pendant settled just above her heart. Perfect, he murmured. Elena turned to face him. I love you. I know. Say it back. I love you, Elena Hart. I love you more than power, more than safety, more than my own life, and I will spend the rest of my days proving it to you. She kissed him hard, desperate, claiming. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elena pressed her forehead against his. No more running, she whispered. No more running. No more hiding. No more hiding. Just us. Just us. They stood together on the beach, two people who'd burned their entire lives down and rebuilt from the ashes. Two people who'd chosen each other when the world said they shouldn't. Two people who'd survived violence and betrayal and impossible odds, and found something neither of them had expected. Home. Epilogue. 1 year later, Elena stood in front of a small community center in their coastal town, watching children file inside for the after-school program she'd started. The Hart Foundation, named after herself, because Kangjun had insisted. It wasn't much. Just tutoring, meals, a safe place for kids who needed one. But it was hers. Built with money Kangjun had hidden away during his years in the organization. Blood money turned into something clean. Redemption came in strange forms. Kangjun appeared beside her, 2 cups of coffee in hand. He'd cut his hair shorter, stopped dyeing it, let the gray show through. He looked older now, but lighter. They're growing fast, he said, nodding toward the kids. They always do. You're good at this. At what? Caring for people, making them feel safe. Elena smiled. I learned from the best. Kangjun's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression tightened slightly. What? Elena asked. Nothing important? Kangjun. He showed her the screen. A news article. Seo Kangjun declared legally dead by Seoul authorities after year-long investigation. Assets seized. Case closed. Elena read it twice. We're officially ghosts. Free ghosts. Is that what we are? I don't know what else to call it. Elena looked at the children disappearing into the community center, at the life they'd built, at the man beside her who'd given up everything for her. I do, she said. What? Lucky. Kangjun laughed. After everything we've been through, you think we're lucky? We're alive. We're together. We get to wake up every morning and choose each other. Yeah, I think we're lucky. He pulled her close and kissed the top of her head. Maybe you're right. They stood together as the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and gold. Somewhere in Seoul, the organization that had tried to kill them was nothing but memory. Somewhere in Houston, Ryan Mercer was living his own life, carrying his own guilt. Somewhere in Austin, Vanessa Cole had learned what it meant to be truly alone. But here, in this small coastal town where nobody knew their real names or their violent past, Elena Hart and Junso were simply 2 people in love, building a life, finding peace, choosing redemption. And every night, when Elena traced the scar on her side, the reminder of how close she'd come to losing everything, she thought about that rainy night in the underground garage, the moment she'd scraped a stranger's car and changed her entire world. She thought about fear and courage, violence and tenderness, death and survival. And she realized that the girl who'd stood in that high school hallway, humiliated and broken, no longer existed. In her place stood a woman who'd walked through fire and emerged stronger. A woman who'd learned that sometimes salvation came wrapped in danger. That sometimes the scariest choice was the right one. That sometimes the person everyone feared was exactly the person you needed. And as Elena stood beside Kang Jun, watching the sun disappear into the ocean, she made a silent promise to that broken teenage girl she used to be. You made it. You survived. And you found something worth fighting for. Not revenge, not redemption, just love. Real, messy, dangerous, beautiful love. And that's enough. The darkness that had nearly destroyed them had become the foundation for something new. And Elena Hart, the woman who'd fallen for the Korean Mafia boss everyone feared, finally, truly, completely felt safe. Not because the danger was gone, but because she'd learned to face it, with her scars, her strength, and the man who'd chosen her above everything else. Together, they walked back to their small house overlooking the sea, and for the first time in both their lives, they locked the door not to keep the world out, but to keep their peace in.